They're just some of the basic things that really help me. Getting one of my favorite financial books. I read this book all the time. If you care about your fitness, if you care about your money, if you care about money is just life energy. You work, you save money, you earn money. Don't give money more importance than it has. Financial independence should be, for myself at least, about more than just having enjoyable experiences. This is a game changer. Have every 3 to 5 years, take a break. Your life energy is just a tool. And if happiness and fulfillment is the goal, and purpose and living a good life is the goal, then it's like a work of art. You've got to not be too extreme with it. It helps me get out of these extreme mentalities in anything. Where it's the place where, for myself, this virtue of money or courage or whatever really it works. I find AI to be an incredibly helpful tool.
Chad Carson, welcome back to the show, brother.
It is good to be here, Justin. Thank you for having me back.
So this is a special episode. Before I introduce our guest, this is a Fit Rich Life Upgrades episode. So Chad and I are going to talk about the books we're reading, the supplements we're taking, any new exercises or workouts that we're doing, podcasts we're listening to, things we've changed our mind on, what games we're playing, what season of life we're in. And I've done a few of these before, normally with three guests total, or 3 people total, myself and 2 guests, but I wanted to try it with me and one other guest. And Chad Carson, aka Coach Carson, is a great friend of mine. He's been a client of mine, and he was on episode 60 of the Fit Rich Life podcast, where we talked about his newest book, The Small and Mighty Real Estate Investor, which is an incredible book for anyone interested in real estate or even well into their real estate journey. He has 135,000 or 132,000 subscribers on YouTube. He runs Rental Property Mastery, which is a group cohort coaching program for the real estate investor that at least has a property or 3 under their belt. I believe it's currently full, right? There's a wait list. There's 300 people in it, and you cap it there.
Yeah, we have openings coming up. I've been kind of trying to market that a little bit differently because there's always a little bit of turnover. So for people we'll talk about it later. But yeah, if you're interested in it, there's always a few every month that come open.
Awesome. And last but not least, he has an incredible podcast, Real Estate Investing with Coach Carson, everywhere you enjoy your podcast entertainment. So if you're in the real estate space or want to get into the real estate space, that is a free to you, no cost option where you can really just learn an incredible amount. It's a really great show. So Chad, so happy to have you here. We just got back a few weeks ago from FinCon. So what is FinCon?
Financial conference. This is how do you explain it? This is they call it the money nerds conference. This is basically a place where anybody who makes content around money, and this can be from financial planners, kind of on the more traditional side, all the way to people like you and me who are sort of financial independence, retire early, community people who do podcasts and YouTubing. So it's a place where people go to. These days, for me, it's hanging out with friends and just connecting with people. But it's people who are trying to up their game and make better content, tell better stories. That's the vibe at FinCon.
Yeah. So it was held in Portland this past year, 2025. And next year it's going to be in Palm Springs. I already got my ticket for next year.
Me too. I'll be there.
Hell yeah. So it was my first time. And you told me before we hit record, this is your 10th time. Yeah. So why do you keep coming back to FinCon?
I think this is a theme. I'm learning this in my own community too. I think you go there for some specific reason. I started going there back in the day when that blogging was the main thing because I wanted to educate myself. I wanted to learn. I wanted to have a crash course in just content creation. But I keep going back. Not that I don't learn anything, but it's less about huge, amazing insights and more about people and just connecting. I told my wife when I left to go to that conference, it was this is where I go recharge my creator battery for the year. That's so hanging out with you, and we met someone named Eric Hughes we hung out a lot with, just getting to hang out and talk and be with people who kind of get this little nerdy obsession and habit that I have of telling stories and making content. That's fun. It's just it's not work. It's not an energy draining thing. It's a really cool just connection. So I think those relationships and being around, I can't I've always found it important, but you can't underestimate how important it is being around a community of people in person, not just online, in person, who share some of your passions. Like it's such a game changer in my mind.
Yeah. I literally, one of my biggest thoughts after I attended was like, why didn't I start going to this when I first started like my
Yeah.
online fitness and money coaching business, 3.5 years ago? Because there's something incredible about getting into a physical environment with people that are in similar endeavors to you and have similar interests. So this is like really for like anyone in the personal finance, wealth building, investing, content creation space, whether you're a podcaster, a YouTuber, a TikToker, a blogger. It was just like so exciting, like to
Mm,
connect with everyone. And like you and I have like, God, I don't even know how many hours we spent together on Zoom, but it was our first time hanging out
I
with
know.
each other in person. And like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of like was always like, hey, what are you doing? Where are you at? Like, and I
Let's
like
go.
strategically was like, how much time can I rack up with Chad in person? Because I was just like, I really consider you a great friend now. And I was just like, yes, like, I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to hang out with him in
Yeah.
person. So, I think
100%.
I pretty hit you up about like, okay, where are you going to lunch every
Let's do it.
day?
I'm
So
glad you did. I'm glad you did. I mean, honestly, that's the good stuff. Like that's the, and, a lot of the insights that you get, you can sit in a class, you can listen to something, but it's kind of like watching a YouTube video. Like you can absorb information, but a dialogue with people who you're close with or you become close with, that's where you go deep on a subject. Maybe there's some random comment, like you might have made a random comment at lunch one time that was sort of an offhanded comment, but because it's like 30 minutes, 60 minutes into a conversation, that's where the good stuff happens. So I love it. That's what I'm all about.
yeah, and there was like I don't know if you're talking about the same lunch I'm thinking of, but like when we were at that Japanese restaurant
Yep.
and we were kind of like your producer, like we were kind of like helping him like with ideas of how to grow his business. And then the your other friend, you said his name earlier, but I just blanked on it.
Yeah, Eric.
Um Eric, like both you and I, and we're all kind of just like ideating, like how do they grow their businesses? Like what insight do we have? Like what are the different, and I think that's like so valuable because not only does it give you ideas, I think it gives you inspiration and energy.
Hmm.
Um, and on top of that, like there were so many people that I met that have been on my podcast, but this was like the first time I got to like actually hang out with them
Yeah.
in person. And it's like I already knew them because like I'd either like talk to them for 2 hours on my podcast or listen to tons of podcasts they've been on to like know their story for it. So it was just like so great to finally be like, yeah, these are really my friends now because like I've actually hung out with them in person.
Yeah, that was my biggest weird thing about FinCon when I first started going to it. It was like the same thing. These are all online folks who now are IRL, like they're in real life, and it was a little surreal at first. Like with some people, you're like, "Whoa, that's weird. That person's a lot taller than I thought. That person's a lot shorter." I wasn't surprised that you were ripped up and like a ripped up dude. So that was not a surprise. But there's those little funny things like that, but also just the in between, the walking, the talking. So yeah, I get a ton of specific information. I get inspiration. Like I come back, I call that recharging my battery because I'm around people who are doing the thing that I'm all about, and it just fills you up, and you're like, all right, let's do this. I'm energized, I'm ready. And being in the online space in particular, I know everybody's online these days, but man, it can be, even if it's fun, there's a ton of burnout. There's a ton of people who 5 years into their online business they're done, like they can't handle this thing anymore. So you need some stuff like that. You need some recharging along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to make one comment because anyone who's considering going, it was so amazing. Like I met so many people that I've been wanting on my podcast, and every one of them I was like, "Hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast." And every single one was like, "Absolutely. Here's my
Yeah.
email, here's my phone number." And like, not a single person was like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, but try sending an email to get that same person to respond to you, and it's like one out of 10, right?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, some of the ones I really wanted, I got their cell phone number. So it's
Yeah.
like, and I used to be a salesman for like, well over a decade. So I am persistent AF. So
Close.
I
Close.
will, I will pit bull them until they come on to my show. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that was huge. And then, for me, and just so the audience knows, there are every day there's like presentations from all these different creators on all these different topics. And I think FinCon is somewhere around like 1,500 to 2,000 people, so it's a big conference. And a lot of my friends were like, oh, that's a financial independence like conference. And what I noticed there is it seemed like about maybe 20 to 30% of the people were like actual financial independence people who are on that journey or already or creating content around that. But the large majority was like people that are just like creating content around money, wealth, or whatever. And some of them didn't even know what financial independence was. I was like, oh, no, like, and they're like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of niches or niches, whatever you want to call that, even within the financial space. And yeah, there's military podcasters, there's moms who stay at home and have a side hustle business. There's, dads who do the same thing. I mean, it's just like, if you name a little tiny little slice, there's somebody who has 100,000 or 500,000 YouTube subscribers in that one little, what you thought was a tiny little niche. And there they are making a bunch of content, helping people, educating. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have some like really big name people there too, opening, like Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income. Like, he just released a new book called Lean Learning. He was like the opening speaker for the conference. Paula Pant, and Joe Saul
Sehi.
He's going to hate me hopefully he doesn't listen to my podcast. But anyways, from Stacking Benjamins, like, a lot of like big creators, small creators, like all different sizes. And like you said, all different niches. And as I was saying, there's like presentations like put on all throughout all 3 days of the conference. And, there was this one presentation I went to that literally, when I went to it, Chad, after it, I was like, I would have paid 10 times what I paid to go to this conference. I think with like everything, it was like $600 plus the cost of the hotel. So call it 800 to 1,000. I would have paid $10,000 just to go to this one presentation that I went to, because it was so mind-blowing, mind-opening. And I was just like, oh my God, the possibilities of like what you can do in like with an online business. And I'm not going to share what the presentation was, because I want to like pursue the idea.
All right. I was about to say, share all. Come on, man. What was that presentation?
I might share.
Tease it a little bit,
So essentially, I'll give him a shout out because he deserves it. It's John Liang, Liang. He's John's Finance Tips on TikTok and Instagram. And his whole presentation was about brand deals. And he has done, in about 3 years, $3.6 million in brand deals with companies like Bank of America, Charles Schwab, etc. And the reason it resonated with me so much is because he spent many, many years doing software sales for SAP. And in the presentation, he literally showed the emails between him and the people who wanted him to like make a TikTok video or an Instagram reel. And like, I'll just give a little bit. Like they would like email and be like, hey, we want 2 Instagram videos and 2 TikToks We want exclusivity for like 7 months, meaning you can't talk about any of our competitors on your, Instagram or TikTok. And we want use of those videos for like 6 months. And we'll give you $7,000. And then he writes them back and he shows the emails. And he says, "Oh, for all that, like I want $110,000." So 7,000, ask for 110. And then they write back, "We're so sorry. That's way out of our budget. Could you do it for 30?" So they went from 7 to 30 just because he asked for 110. And then like he shows us email back and forth, back and forth. And then they settle on like $50,000. So they originally offered him 7, and through his negotiation ended at 50. And then he proceeds to go through example after example of like him doing this where they're like offering whatever. And then he asked for like Mars. He doesn't even ask for the moon. He asks for Mars. And then he lands on the moon. So the final example that he showed us was some company wanted 7 videos, 7 TikToks, 7 Instagram reels, exclusivity for like 7 months and, right of use for 7 months. And they offered him like $70,000. He writes back and he's like, "For all of that, I want $333,000. Then he like they go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they settle on over $250,000. So for 7 1-minute videos, this man made $250,000. And these are like just talking head videos with a fake green screen like behind. And my mind was just blown because he treated the whole thing like he tracked it like a pipeline, like a sales pipeline. So he literally took his like B2B sales job skill set, and then he literally applied it to this brand deal stuff. And like he ran it like where like every deal, like it was in like negotiation stage or closed won or closed loss. And he tracked it all in HubSpot, which is like, a tool that like, B2B salespeople use. And I was just like, oh my God, I spent 10 years in B2B sales. Like, I don't have 1 million followers on TikTok, but I have a podcast. I have a newsletter. I have a strong following on Instagram. Like, heck, if I could make $100,000 a year in brand deals, that's $100,000 I don't have. And he just like shattered like what I thought was possible, like making money online, like with a skill set I already have. I'm, I think I'm really good on camera and speaking. I've been told that. And so I was like, oh shit. Like, even if I just did like 1 or 2 like brand deals a quarter, like, dude.
Yeah, you're all day long. I think you're a great fit for that. And I think there's 2 things I take away from that story. I unfortunately wasn't in that presentation. I was at another one, but that was good too. But I think one of the things I take away is you can transfer skills, especially from corporate to if you transfer that to like the mom and pop business of online content producers who don't really treat it like a business. You can ring up a lot. You can do really well. You can run it like a business. That's thing number one. Thing number 2 is I think a lot of creators are underselling themselves in the marketplace. Like the influencer marketing, like corporations and brands need people who have audiences that they trust, and that's the key. Like if you've created a relationship with people, and that's not a small thing. Like you've created a relationship with your podcast audience, your newsletter, you've delivered, you're a trustworthy person, you're not an AI bot, like you're a real human being, like that's valuable. Like, and I think it's only getting more valuable because who trusts a corporation? Like, do I trust? I mean, not picking on Bank of America, but like, do I really care anything about Bank of America or trust them? But when I hear Justin and he's helped me get fit and he's helped me get rich, he's helped me live a better life, I'm like, I resonate with Justin. I connect with him. And so Bank of America, Justin, which brand has more strength? I don't know. To me, it's like the influencers are the ones who are racking it up today.
Yeah, his closing remark, and I thought it was just like so good. He literally said, when you counter offer, if you don't feel sick to your stomach, you're not asking for enough. And I was like, that's so true. Because he's like, if you literally counter offer and don't think about it and like are totally at peace, you're underselling yourself. And I was like Jesus, like it was so good. And so like, yeah, I mean, he's hopefully he'll come on my podcast. Like literally, I was so stoked at the end of his presentation that I ran to the front so I could be the first person. And I was like, John, I spent 10 years in like B2B sales in Silicon Valley, SF Bay Area. This resonated with me so much. You literally made this whole conference like worth the price of the ticket. Like I paid 10 times what I paid to come here just to hear you speak. Thank you so much. And
That's cool.
it was just like, and you know, there were so many other good presentations too, like Cody Berman, you know, mutual friend of ours. Also, you know, he's been on a Fit Rich Life Upgrades episode. Like he's been on the show. He was actually guest number 2, I think, on my show. And like he literally did a presentation about how he has a 1,200-day email sequence, which is
Yeah.
insane. And again,
Yeah.
like these people just shattered my paradigms of like what's possible. Because like
Yeah.
when I worked in B2B sales, like the longest email sequence we'd have is maybe like 6 touch points. And here he is emailing people for 4 years.
Funny, but Cody came on my podcast 2 years ago, maybe 3. Like it's been a long time. And just this week, I saw a conversion come in, like from my audience who went to his pipeline, who now, and he has something totally unrelated to real estate. It's like how to make be a Pinterest, make money on
Uh
Pinterest, basically.
it's Etsy. He has a yeah, Etsy printables.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I knew it had something to do with printables. Like I don't even remember what it was, right? It's printables on Etsy. You make a little side business, and
Yeah.
there's a small segment of my audience who thought that was cool and they're interested. And
Yeah.
somebody bought one of his courses 3 years later, and I got a little small commission on that. I'm like,
100%.
Cody, you're brilliant, man. You're like you're staying with
That's the fucking 4-year
it.
fucking email sequence.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
3 years later, like you're proof that like it works.
yeah.
And yeah, so I'm curious. There's 2 things. One, I want you to share because you did a presentation because like all about building a YouTube. Like you're, you know, well over 100,000 at 132. So I want to hear a couple key takeaways from that, and then I want to hear you tell me about like any presentation that left an impression on you.
Yeah, I'll start with the second one if you don't mind, because
Sure.
there's one. I'm really in a mode. You kind of go in with a certain mindset of things you're open and receptive to. Like for me, I'm building this community, and I'm just all about like little tweaks that I can do to either promote the community better or really just like make it better itself like that. So I have these members in my community. I'm like, what can I do to just keep improving it? What 1% better, a little bit better. And so I went to one presentation, and the guy who presented was as a CPA, and he had a community of other CPAs, and he was just talking about, they weren't like earth shattering kind of things, but he was just giving ideas of the different kind of programming he does in his community. And I took a ton of notes on that because he's in like a parallel, he's not in the same business as me. He doesn't have the same clients as me, but we're in a very similar delivery business. So we both have memberships, we both have YouTube channels. So that having that kind of insight, like he doesn't have a course on how to make a community. Like that is not his thing. And the same with
Yep.
me. Like I went up and talked about YouTube. I never talk about how to like make it on YouTube, but I study that stuff all the time, and that's what I do. And I think that's what's kind of the theme beyond the specifics of each of those presentations. Is like you're hearing, like if you go to a conference where there's real presenters who aren't professional salespeople on that topic,
Yeah.
that's really interesting, because you're getting practitioners, you're getting people who are in the trenches doing it, and they might not be real polished on their presentation, but they're just like, here's what I'm doing, here's my statistics, here's what things are all about. And that's what I took away from that one presentation. I'm just like, oh, he said we just experimented where we had the specific thing, which may or may not matter to people, but like he had guest experts within his community. So like he basically like took himself out of the main role as the quote guru or the main person, and he hired other people to be like other CPAs and experts and other marketing people, and they would rotate in. And I've been doing a little bit of that where I pay people on my side of my community, but I just had some good insights there about how you can have like basic guest experts who people join your community to get access like to those people behind the scenes. So like in real estate, for
Yep.
example, what if I had my go-to attorney who really is awesome and I can get her or him to come on and talk to me about stuff, that just have a conversation with me about my portfolio, about what you would recommend, and everybody else just kind of gets to listen in on that.
Yep.
Like that's something you'd have to pay $500 or $1,000 to that attorney to have a similar kind of conversation. And you can do the same
Yep.
thing with a CPA. So there's some ideas like that I had about just all under the theme of, here's a similar business to mine. How can I like borrow some very practical ideas and then go and take them and implement them in my own business?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm going to circle back on like a couple of key takeaways from your presentation too, but there was two comments that I want to make. One, and this is no judgment. I actually think this is amazing. John Liang's presentation was like the ugliest slide deck I've ever seen in my life. It was like literally just like black and white writing. There was zero graphics, and it was like so simple. It looked like he had like probably just spent like 5 minutes making it.
yeah,
But the content was so good, and like what the like what he talked about, and like him just sharing like he pulled the curtain back on his business. And I was like, this is insane that he's sharing this with us. Like
yeah,
he's literally showing us the emails he wrote these people and that they wrote him back. Like he had screenshots, and he asked us like, please don't like take pictures of these and like share them anywhere. And then it's the same thing, like, you know, what you're saying, these practitioners like Cody, like he sells like you know, Etsy printables like course, but he like pulled the curtain back on how he generates so much income on his business. He wasn't trying to sell us his course. He was like, here is how my course makes so much freaking money. And
yeah,
like, I just am like, why didn't I go this three years ago?
yeah, yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, that's actually why I spoke there. I actually don't normally speak at FinCon, but then I thought about it, and one of the reasons was my right hand guy, Michael Wynn, is my content producer, and he came up with the idea. He's like, I think I'd like to present and share what I'm doing. He's looking to get a couple more clients for his podcast producing business. And I was like, yeah, all right, that'd be cool. And so it just made me realize, like, I've been doing content production on my own business. Like I had a YouTube channel since 2014,
Oh,
which is,
wow.
11 years. I wasn't doing it professionally. Like I was just uploading a couple things. Like some of my early YouTube videos were just me drawing on a piece of paper, running the numbers on a real estate deal. And it was like a horrible camera, horrible sound. I can't watch the crap anymore because it's just like so bad. Um,
Yeah.
but even that, like 2019, I finally started taking it seriously, where I'm like, all right, I gotta do like I do everything else. You gotta put the reps in. Like this same with fitness, like you can't get away. You can't have a body that's like transforms until you like put the reps in. You got to do the work. You got to do the incremental gains. You got to, keep having some progressive overload. And so I did the same thing with YouTube. I got to produce content every single week, and it's going to be crappy up front. I'm not going to be able to, be proud of it yet. But I started doing that I probably made at least one video a week since 2019, like every single week. And it's turned
And
into more of a podcast now, but that's like, I'd say, if nothing else, like that consistency of just getting my reps in. Like I've made a ton of content, so I've just got a lot of practice doing it.
yeah, so literally 2019. So 6 years you've been releasing
Yeah,
like a video every week. How many years like of consistency before like the growth really started to like kick off?
it was about a year and a half, and I'll give you one example video. This is my best video on my channel, but it's pretty indicative of how this stuff works. I started making them in like halfway through 2019, and so 3 months in, I made this video about how to run the numbers on rental properties. And the
Mm-hmm.
video before that one and the video after one sucked. Like they didn't do anything. But this one video, it kind of did okay for the first 3 to 6 months. Might have made like a couple thousand views, which is cool. I'm like, oh, great, that's awesome. But then like 6 months in, all of a sudden I look at my analytics, and it's like a hockey stick. It's like all of a sudden, for some reason, YouTube found it and is like sharing it, and it's getting like two or 3,000 a day, or like or more. And that video now, still to this day, like this, 2019 is when I made it. It's had 2.5 million views
Wow.
since I made it. It is like the main revenue on YouTube or the main value of YouTube is not just AdSense where you get ads, but that you make some revenue eventually when you get a big enough channel. that one video has made probably $50,000 or so, somewhere in there. 40,000.
That's
I'll have to look at it, but that one video has made that much money, and that doesn't include all the people it's sent to my website who become clients of mine. And so like that's the long tail of that. That's my best video. I've had some other ones that have done hundreds of thousands, but like that's what that kind of blew my mind. I'm like, all right, YouTube is really interesting. It's hard. It's not the easiest platform to make content on, to make long form content, which I do. It takes a lot of work. I pay a lot of money to my content producer. Like I spend $7,000 to $8,000 a month making my 1 to 2 videos a week.
yeah,
Like that's no joke, right? Like that's, that's what is that? It's 90,000 bucks a year that I'm investing in basically organic marketing. But
yeah,
the long tail of that is if you do that, if you get good at it yourself, you train yourself, and you spend the money. Like I just I don't edit videos myself. Like I leverage my time. I don't want to do all that. So I pay people to do like the editing and the follow up and the publishing. But it has basically now become like it used to be Google blogging and like kind of lead generation from Google was my main source of leads for my business. But YouTube is now easily the top one. I get tons and tons of new people who meet me and then also stick with me. They watch a lot of videos and they get to know me. And video is like the best platform for building trust and for people getting to know you, because you could, we're hardwired evolutionarily to pick out BS artists. You can
yeah,
tell some like you might like I don't know. There's a little twitch in that lady's eye or that guy's eye, or like there's a little he's talking too fast or whatever, and you can see the body language. The body language isn't kind of jiving with what the words they're saying. For that reason, AI is going to change things a little bit on that, but still, it's a little easier to BS people with writing than it is seeing what they're saying on YouTube. So I think for that reason, it builds really big relationships where people know you, they feel like they're connected with you, and that's really cool for me. I love that. That's like as a teacher and as a coach, that's where my heart is. That I can meet people who I've never met who've watched like 500 of my videos and like know
yeah,
everything about me, and they say you've helped me buy 3 properties. I'm like, holy cat, that's stunning. Like that still blows my mind to this day.
yeah, yeah. I think my personal opinion is YouTube subscribers and email list subscribers are the most valuable like audience members. Like,
Yeah,
Instagram's great, TikTok's great, Threads is great, X is great, but like you said, YouTube, like people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And as you're saying, like when we can see somebody and we like not only like listen to them, but we also watch their face and all their
yeah,
features, like that creates so much more connection and trust. And then, I don't think email creates as much, connection, but you're in their inbox,
yeah,
which is like, and if they're reading your emails and, if like you have a great newsletter, I think I have a great newsletter, and like we share an incredible amount of like free educational content. Like, you know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like people never have to buy a thing from either of us because we have podcasts and newsletters that are cost nothing. And then eventually we're like, hey, we have this course or this coaching or this community. And they're like, Chad's giving me so much incredible free stuff. Like I can't even imagine what I get inside, rental property mastery. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think that's like, I think that's good, right? Because there's a part of me that loves creating content that's like free to anybody.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's like one way that both you and I feel like we're like giving back to the world is like
Yeah,
sharing our insight and our wisdom that was hard won.
yep, yeah,
Sometimes really hard won.
yeah. Scars,
But
lots of
then,
scars to prove it.
yeah. So, any other insights from your presentation at FinCon? It sounds like consistency.
That's a big one. Yeah,
Posting weekly for 6 years
yeah.
is the major key behind your success. Any other like insight or two that you want to share from that
Yeah, I'll
presentation?
share another one. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to nerd out on YouTube. I know you and I kind of do that kind of stuff, but I'll give an idea, the core idea that I shared that I think is applicable to whatever you're selling or whatever you're selling. By selling, I mean like whoever you're trying to persuade. Like, we all are trying to persuade people, negotiate with people. And YouTube is the game of YouTube is an attention game. And for almost all of us use YouTube, but we're used to scrolling, and then there's a ton of content behind the scenes. But when you have YouTube viewers, the only thing I would change a little bit about what you said is subscribers. I don't think subscribers are valuable on YouTube. I think viewers who come back over and over again, repeat viewers are valuable, because
Mm.
I've seen channels that have 1 million subscribers, but they're kind of stale. They got this subscriber 5 years ago, right? And that subscriber doesn't really count anymore. Whereas the email subscriber might unsubscribe from your list. You can keep it fresh. YouTube, like, the longer the creator's been there, the less the subscribers really matter as much.
Mm.
What really matters on YouTube, the hardest part about it is getting people's attention. And so there's this idea called packaging, which I got from a guy named Jay Klaus. I don't know if he got it from somebody else, but the idea is that every video you make, if you might make the best video ever. It could be amazing. You told an amazing story, has a helpful content. Well, it really doesn't matter, because that's like the inside of a present under the Christmas tree. Like, the story you're telling inside your video, nobody's ever going to see it unless they open that video. And it's just like a Christmas present. Nobody's ever going to see that amazing Christmas present unless they have this packaging that entices them to open the present. And so YouTube is a game of thumbnails, titles, and hooks.
Yeah.
Thumbnails, titles, and hooks. The thumbnail is the first thing. Like, so people, when they're scrolling, you got to have a thumbnail that stops the scroll, and they're on their phone and they're like, huh, that's interesting. Like, you need to open up a story gap and a curiosity gap. You want to either make people like, kind of like, they want to get something, like, oh, I'd like to see that, or they're afraid of something, or there might be like just entertainment value to it. But there needs to, like, that's why you see bright colors. That's why you usually see people with emotion, some kind of face on there. It looks kind of cheesy. Like, I wish it were not the case. Like, I hate having my face on these thumbnails. My thumbnail maker's always like, let's A/B test this. Let's see, like, one without Chad and one with Chad, and the one with me gets like 70% opens, and the ones without me is like 30%. So it's like, crap. Like, the ones with my face do better because people want to see another face. They want to, the emotion on your face kind of tells them what to feel about this video. Is it something you're like skeptical? Like, I have some videos I'm like skeptical, like, that's crap, like, that's not going to work, and I'm pointing to it, and they're like, huh, what does Chad think is a bunch of crap? Like, let's go see that. Or there'll be an emotion like, that's exciting, like, wow, you should see this. Like, so that matters. But then there's also an art form to that. Like, you don't want to clutter up your thumbnails, so you want to have, I've heard, no more than 3 things on the thumbnail. For example, if the person is one thing, the text is one thing, and then you could have one object. But you would never
Mm.
want to have more than 3. Like, some people put tons of crap all over there, or 7. You want to have like 2 or 3 words, not 7 words on there. So
Mm.
those are some of the things I went through in the presentation. Is how do you create great packaging so that people want to open it? And it starts with the thumbnail. Then the title is like the second part. Like, the thumbnail gets them interested. The title kind of closes the deal. They're like, oh, that's even better. You don't want to make the title and the thumbnail the same thing. You want to make them complementary to one another. And then they get inside that. Here's the tricky part, is like, a lot of people are like, well, that thumbnail looks like clickbait, and that title looks like clickbait. And it could be, but you don't know until you watch that video whether it's clickbait or not, because how you deliver on that thumbnail once they open it is the trick. And so if you promise something in the thumbnail and the title, and they get inside the video, if you can't deliver in the first 15 to 30 seconds on the promise of that thumbnail and the title, you lose them. And it's behind the scenes that you have Google Analytics or YouTube Analytics. You can see it's like a cliff. It's just a fall off. Like, everybody abandons your video. Like, even on a good video, you lose like 20-30% of the people in the first 15 to 30 seconds. That's just the way it is. But the best YouTube videos that have done the best on my channel get really flat really fast. You'll lose like 10 or 20%, and all of a sudden it's like, for the next 10-15 minutes, just this flat. Nobody leaves. And that's
Mm.
the art form of, you get a hook that kind of grabs people, like, oh, that's interesting. I'm willing to stay. That's exactly what he promised in the thumbnail. It wasn't clickbait. And then you make a promise in the hook. And then a lot of people in podcasting, like, who get in audio podcasting, try to get on YouTube. It's a different medium, and so they try to do their podcast thing on YouTube. And they understandably, they want to chat, they want to talk for the first 3 or 4 minutes. Doesn't work. Like, most YouTube videos, there are exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's people who have 4-hour podcasts on YouTube who chit chat for the first 2 or 3 minutes. But if you're not, I don't know, Joe Rogan or whoever, whoever the other big podcasters are, you got to grab people fast and show them why they should care about this video. And so we spend a ton of time on that. Like, every video we make, we spend, I heard Mr. Beast, who's a big YouTuber, say this one time. He's like, you need to spend as much time or more time on the packaging of your video than you do on the actual video itself. And I was like, really? How is that? Like, that's just the packaging. But we literally, we have a script where we'll use ChatGPT to help us out. We'll have like 20 or 15 different titles that we brainstorm. And then we'll say, all right, these are the two best ones. Now let's like rip on that some more. Let's have another 5 variations of that one. We'll have like change one word, change 2 words, put this word at the beginning, like tons and tons of wordsmithing to try to get a title that we think is the best. And then we do the same thing with the thumbnail. We have 2 or 3 different ideas. And then YouTube has these A/B testing things, which is pretty cool. They started doing for creators, where I can put 3 different thumbnails on the video, and the one that does the best then is the winner, and then we can show it. And so you're constantly learning from your own analytics on your videos about what your audience likes and what they want more of. And the cool thing about YouTube is that's alignment. That's what YouTube wants. YouTube wants people to stay on the platform, watch the videos. And so they give you all these tools as a creator to make yourself a better creator, to get people to click, to get people to stay, to engage them. And so it's been like this deep dive I've done on the last 5 years of just continuing to learn. I feel like I'm still trying to get a lot better with YouTube, but I've kind of learned what my audience likes. I've learned what I like to make, and I've found like a little happy medium place where here's the type of content that I can make. Here's the way I make it. I've got a team who helps me make it. But as you can see, I mean, this behind the scenes, this is not like a low budget thing. Like, I'm having to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort. I happen to like it. I love storytelling. I love the challenge of doing all this, but it's a real deal. Like, you have to really commit to it behind the scenes.
Yeah, I love that you went into all that, because it's really like you're kind of like, here's the behind the scenes of like how you actually make a video that people will watch and continue to watch. And what it makes me think about, like, I'm super passionate about Threads, which is, Meta's, Twitter/X competitor. They actually have more daily active users than X now. So they
Wow.
passed up X in daily active users. And it's the same thing. Like, your hook, your opening sentence on a Threads post, which is, for people who aren't familiar with Threads, it's predominantly a micro writing platform. So it's just like mostly, short written posts, but you can like thread together multiple posts to make like what we call a super thread, which is just a bunch of posts all linked together. But like, you can literally have a terrible like super thread or multi-thread that's like not that good, but if your opening hook is good, it will go viral. Like, and it's the same thing. I had one of my kind of like mentors in the space like literally like tell me, like, you need to spend like more time on the hook than you do
Yeah.
actually writing the content inside the longer post. Like,
Yeah.
that's important. It's got to be decent, but like the most important thing is getting them to click on the post so then they can like read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a strong hook, which is essentially like you're using the thumbnail as a hook, you're using the title as a hook, and then in those first 15 to 30 seconds, you have to have some sort of like hook to get
Yep.
them to stay and then watch the rest of it. But I love how you tied the whole like whatever the promise of the thumbnail is, whatever the promise of the title is, you have to like deliver on that promise in the first 15 to 30 seconds. And I'm trying to think of like how this, like, because I love YouTube. I don't watch a ton of it. But one of the things I notice is like they kind of reveal the answer to whatever, like the kind of like what the conclusion to the episode or the YouTube is, and then they're like, and here's how we, like, now let me show you how we got there. And
Yeah.
they do this thing where they like tell you the end, and then they're like, but now we're going to show you how we got there.
Yeah, especially with tutorial videos. Like, there's a lot of different kinds of videos. Like, if you study Mr. Beast, he's at entertainment. So like, one side of YouTube's entertainment, the other side's more educational. And there's some people who are like edutainment, kind of somewhere in between. Like, Mark Rober is a great example. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. He's a science kind of. He used to work for NASA, and the best educators have a entertainment built into their channel. The best entertainment people have education built in there too. Like, they kind of work with one another. But yeah, there's different techniques you can use. And the other thing I would say for those who aren't into like long form YouTube, you can this applies to threads, it applies to short form content.
Yep.
And even if you, this is kind of like we always talk about, everyone's in sales. Like, you think you're not a salesperson, but everyone's in sales. Like, you think you're not in social media, but everyone, like, I don't care if you're like, you don't have to be in the business like I am of coaching and teaching people. Like, I also have this other business. This is a nonprofit that I do in my town, that we're trying to build a network of walking and biking trails. I contribute money to this every year. I helped start this nonprofit 10 years ago. We built 5.5 miles of trail. Like, it is a little small organization that we try to run like a business, and I am doing social media for that little thing. And so if you learn how to do that, like, it's a totally different scale. But if I can make good content for that, it's a form of leverage. It's a form of power in today's world, that if you want to make change, if you want to make an impact in my local community, I want to influence the city council members, the mayor. I want to influence the people who show up at city council meetings to say, yes, we want these trails. We should spend some of our tax money on this. Or, hey, that intersection sucks. Like, why is it that when I walk across that intersection or do my jog in the morning, I almost get hit by a truck? That sucks. Like, so I'm making content that makes people feel something on a local level. And so for those of you who aren't like in the content business, this is a superpower. Like, this is like, social media is the ultimate form of leverage. Even if you're not on it yourself personally, like, I don't like scrolling through Instagram or Facebook. I don't think that's a really healthy thing to do personally, with all my time. But I use it as a tool because that's where people are hanging out. Like, if you want to influence people, if you want to impact them, make their life better, change something, like, these little insights, whether you do threads or LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, like, there's tons of platforms out there. Like, it's a super powerful tool that I really have gotten behind. I've gotten into the idea that that's a key skill of this time we're in. Like, you have to learn how to communicate online if you want to make a difference or some kind of impact with whatever you're doing, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I mean, it doesn't matter like what career you're in. Like, it's just like, to me, like, the ability to communicate online is like one of those evergreen skills that no matter what career you're in, the better you are at it, the more money you will make, the more leverage, the more power you will have. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, and like, I remember in my sales career, like, out of everyone at the company, I had the largest like Instagram following, etc. And like, that gave me leverage with the leaders at my company, because they're like, oh, Justin's got a big following online. Like, let's pay him more money. like, and it's like, and I think, this is maybe like a strong opinion, but I think we're all creators. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whether we're creating a life, creating, another life with children, creating like our daily experience. And I think social media, it's a tool, right? So a tool you can like misuse, right? Doom scrolling, uh, and but it also can unlock so many opportunities, right? And so for me, starting a podcast, building an Instagram following, building a threads following, um not only has it taught me how to be a better communicator, but it's also just brought so many opportunities I would have never gotten if I hadn't like gone through the process of learning how to like communicate online, educate online, entertain online, speak online, write online, etc. So obviously both Chad and I are very passionate about it, but I think, it's one of those things, like, you can go at your own pace, like, and find the platform and the way of creating, whether that's writing or videos or, some other form. There's so many different ways to create online.
Start small. That's probably the final advice I give on that, is just, if YouTube sounds intimidating, it is. Like, it's a hard, like, start with short form, start with LinkedIn, like, start with something that you already use anyway. And that you don't have to go everywhere. In fact, I would recommend not going everywhere. I would just pick one platform. Like, I respect the heck out of the fact that you've like really dominated on threads. Like, I've got a little threads thing. I've not spent much time on it at all. We just repost from other stuff. But that's like,
Yep.
you're all in. You're figuring it out. I figured out YouTube, and you don't have to be everywhere all the time. You just, like, pick one that you do what I did, and you just say, I'm going to do 100 posts. I'm going to do 100 days or 200 days, and then you're going to suck at first. That's cool, but just go try it. There's not a lot to lose, but it's just you sharing your ideas. And the other hidden benefit of that it's probably my favorite part about this. I know we're going to talk about ideas and things we're reading. Like, it's a way for me to think out loud. Like,
Mm.
more than anything, I'm an idea person. Like I love ideas. I love discussions. I love conversations. And social media at its best, it's got a lot of bad bad sides to it, but it's a way to think out loud, and it's a way to. So if you're a learner, if you're trying to improve yourself, there's nothing like putting your ideas out there for other people to give you feedback and to say no, 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 that's wrong, and they give you feedback. You're like, well, maybe I need to rethink that a little bit. Like that's good. Like that kind of discussion and that sometimes tough love you get online is actually a way to sharpen your mind, become a better thinker.
100%. I'm laughing because, like, when you just like start going back and forth, someone in the comments and they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you
it's
never
like,
win. You never win in that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
you never win because everyone wants to have the last word. So they're like,
Yeah.
you just go back and forth in comments forever.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. I think, what you teach is teaching you. So, like, one of the most powerful ways to learn is to share like what you've learned
Yeah.
online. Like try to teach what you learned to somebody else through social media, and it does two things. One, it really makes like it really drives the point home, or the idea, or the whatever it is, home for you, because if you can't explain it in a social media post, like you don't understand it,
Right.
right? And then secondly, like you might just like change someone's life because you shared an idea that they needed for, the part of life they're in, right?
Yeah.
And like there's just like you never know who you're impacting, and you don't have to have a huge following. Like I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of like people who have really small followings, but like, who feel like they're posting into the void. No one's saying anything, and then they get one message from somebody who says like, hey, I acted on this thing that you taught me or told me in one of your posts, and it like changed my life. And that's like amazing feeling.
It is. And people in real life they would pay money sometimes to have 50 people sit in a room and listen to them. And if you
Yep.
have a podcast that 50 people listen to, or a Facebook post that 50 people read, that's the equivalent of, 30 years ago, that would have been like getting 10 people or 50 people to sit in a room with you. So, I mean, you got to like, even if you have a small following, that's cool. Like my Green Crescent Trail local thing, it's got 1,000 people on our Facebook page. We have 300 people on our email list. My Coach Carson has 45,000 on my email list and 120,000, 130,000 on YouTube. But it doesn't matter. Like it's a different audience. And so when 5 people like it or 10 people like it, those 5 people or 10 people really matter to and that's significant. So it doesn't matter the size. It's more about having progress, growth, impact on the whatever audience you're trying to reach out to.
100%. And I just want to double click on what Chad said about pick one platform. Like, don't try to do all platforms. Like, pick the platform that like you enjoy creating the most
Yeah.
on. And the other thing Chad mentioned, but I'm gonna like hit it home. So YouTube, the kind of, if you want to grow on YouTube, my understanding, you have to post at least once a week. If you want to grow on something like Threads or Instagram or TikTok or any of the other like short form platforms, you have to post every single day.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna be honest. So I grew from 1,800 followers to almost 20,000 followers in about a year on Threads, and I posted every single day for a year.
Yeah.
But the cool part is I only posted once a day 90% of the days. I didn't post like all day long. Like, some people are like, oh, you need to do 3 to 5 thread posts a day. And I was like, no, I'm just going to do one a day. And it's short form. So I can like crank out a post in like under 5 minutes most of the time. And you get the feedback. Like if the post performs, like cool. The cool thing about Threads is like you can reshare the exact same post verbatim 3 to 4 weeks later. And if it performed before, high probability of perform again. And like you'll like, and so I literally repost the same exact verbatim post that have performed well that I posted 3 to 4 weeks ago. So I start to build up this like uh, ecosystem of high performing content. Now, every week I'm testing new content, but every week I'm also reposting past high performing content. So that's kind of like for those of you who want to grow on Threads, post every single day and repost your high performing content every 3 to 4 weeks.
It's hard to do that part to remind, because as the creator, you've heard that thing in your own head hundreds of times, and you're like, everybody's already heard this post. Why would I want to share that? But the reality is, the other reality of social media is like they don't share it with everybody. Even all the followers you have, the 20,000 followers,
Yeah.
probably 1% or 2%, even on a good post, like
Yep.
saw that. So you gotta reposting. Yes, you have some people who see it twice, but for the most part, you're getting like new audiences in many cases.
Yeah. And even the people who saw it 3 or 4 weeks ago, they have so much other content coming into their mind, they've probably forgotten what you
Yeah,
posted 3 to 4 weeks ago. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah,
unless it was like changed their life, even if they liked it and commented, they probably forgot about it.
right.
So, and then the other thing I'm just going to plug, because it's something you really encouraged me to do, whether you're creating on YouTube or you're creating on Threads, build an email list
Yes,
from the get-go. So I have a money guide lead magnet, essentially, like, that I post to, like, when a Threads post does well, like an hour or two later, if I can tell it's taking off, I just like add an additional post comment to it and say, like, you know, follow Justin David Carl to build a fit rich life, get a free copy of my 29-page lead magnet. And when people get my my 29-page money guide, and when they get that money guide, they get added to my email list. And even if you don't have anything to sell people, always be building your email list,
yeah.
because you never it like, once you do have, whether you want to sell a coaching or a service or create a course or sell a book that you write or anything, if you have an email list and you've been building it for years, it's gonna be so much easier to like monetize, versus if you wait to build an email list when you actually have something to sell.
Yeah, and the metaphor to remember this is, you when, like, even on YouTube where I'm doing well, and even on Threads where you're doing well, we're just renting the land. Like,
Yeah.
we don't own our platform. Like, and you could be like really, conspiratory about it and say, oh, I'm going to get kicked off because of what I say or something. But the fact is, like, even on an accidental, like I had my Instagram channel taken down one time for like months. I was like, what did I didn't do anything. Like, it was just
Yeah.
weird. And it finally got put up. Like, if you don't have your own channel of communication with your audience, with your customers, then you don't own it. You don't own your
Yeah.
business at all, or you don't own your platform. So
Yeah.
email is, email. I equate it to like you own a house and you own a piece of land. You still have to pay taxes. Like, so email, you still have Google who has to help people get in your inbox. So it's not like
Yeah.
100%, yours, but you still got to pay taxes on it. But you own that list. You own that communication channel. YouTube, Threads, all those other ones. Like, it's,
Yeah.
you don't own it. It's a rented platform.
Yeah. And, when you do start an email list, at least like once a month, like back up your email list, like download a CSV file with all your emails, because even if you're using Kit or Beehive or MailChimp, like even those you can get like kicked off of. And if you don't like have your email list backed up, or the company could go down, right?
Good
So
advice.
awesome. Well, let's do a hard left turn and talk about supplements and food, and then
Good.
we'll go deep again. But like, I'll kick it off. Why you're thinking of things. So first, I'm going to talk about. So most of the audience knows, but if you don't know, I've been 11 years sober, from alcohol and drugs, and a lot of my clients, they want to give up alcohol because they know like getting fit is infinitely easier if you don't drink. And so I'm always on the lookout for like good alcohol alternatives. And I brought two different things to show and tell with the audience. One is hop water. So if you're watching on YouTube, uh, I'm showing, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm showing a can of what it looks like. And basically, this is just sparkling hop water that has 0 calories in it. And this one, it's literally, the company name is Hop Water, HOPWTR. It has not only like hops in it, but it also has adaptogens and nootropics in it. So it has L-theanine in it, has ashwagandha in it, and some other things I have no idea what they are. They might just be flavoring. But it's tastes amazing. It's really refreshing, and it's hoppy, so it kind of feels like a special drink. So this is one I've been suggesting to members of my coaching program who are trying to like, hey, I don't want to drink anymore, but like when I go to a barbecue or whatever with friends, like I kind of feel like the weird person who doesn't have a drink in their hand. And I'm like, dude, just get a case of this and bring it with you. There's also another brand that my grocery store doesn't carry anymore, but I love, called Hop Splash, and it's even hoppier than this hop water, and it's also 0 calorie. So I love 0 calorie drinks because why, like, don't drink your calories if you're trying to be fit. And then over the last 2 months, I've actually really gotten into non-alcoholic beer. So, and Chad, you probably noticed that FinCon, I was like ordering non-alcoholic beer because it was just like fun for me. And I recently found this non-alcoholic beer called the company's Brew Dog. I'm showing it on camera if you're watching on YouTube or want to watch on YouTube. And it's called Punk AF, like punk as fuck. And it's an IPA, and it only has 20 calories in it in the whole can. So I'm a big fan of like Athletic Brewing Company, which is like another, it's kind of like one of the bigger name like non-alcoholic beers, but it's like 60 or 70 calories. And I'm like, yeah, I'd rather only get like, if I can have something that, and this thing tastes like beer. Like it literally tastes like an IPA beer. The Brewdog Punk as fuck, or Punk AF, and it's only got 20 calories. So in the kind of world of like supplements slash, healthy alternatives to drinking, those are kind of my suggestions that I wanted to share on the show because, like, I'm sorry, science now says like no amount of alcohol is good for you. But I don't have a problem with people drinking. But if you want to, maybe do a month without it or take a couple months off, like those are some fun alternatives that can like make you feel like you're still celebrating, still partaking in festivities. And, for me, like I'll have like one of these Punk AF non-alcoholic beers like after like playing pickleball for 4 to 5 hours. It's just like feels so refreshing to drink a beer after like a hot day on the courts.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. Those are good. I'm going to try those out. Yeah, I'll tell my little brief story about my kind of experience. This is about the same time I started working with you, actually, when I was living in Spain, and I came back. And my experience in Spain was amazing. I don't know my backstory. Like I lived there for a year. Our kids went to school there. They were in 6th grade and 4th grade. And so my wife's a Spanish teacher. So we do this every once in a while. We go live abroad somewhere, and one of my favorite things to do there was I wanted to meet local people. Was I have a soccer group that I went and played with. Like I usually play basketball. I was looking for a basketball group, and I found a group of guys who plays soccer every Thursday night. And the name of their group, I kid you not, they've been playing for 25 years together, is Buscando Cervezas. That we're looking for beers. That's the name of the group. They play soccer for an hour. You shower up and get ready, and then you go drink beers with your friends for 2 hours. And in Spain, everything starts at 9, like late. So we played soccer at 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. You shower, you finally get to the bar at like 10:30, and then you not only get every time you order a drink in Spain, they also bring you a tapa, like a little some food. So it'd be like a little piece of beef, a little thing, So 6 beers later, you've not only had tapas and you're like 11 o'clock at night. And for a period of my life, that was like the good stuff for me, because this is where I learned to really understand Spanish. Like I spoke Spanish before, but in the first week or two I'm there, I'm listening to these guys. I'm kind of nodding my head, and they're speaking like the southern Spain Spanish is like they kind of cut off all their words. I didn't understand a word they said. I'm like, what the hell are these guys saying? I don't understand any of it. But 5 weeks later, 6 weeks later, I'm understanding them. So this is like the good stuff for me was going and hanging out with people and doing that. But when I got back from Spain, I was not feeling super healthy. Like even though I walked everywhere, I was moving a lot, because you had every Thursday night you're drinking some beer, and then on Friday night I play basketball and they do the same thing. And so I think I still like a beer every once in a while, but like I think having these kind of alternatives is really helpful. And for me, I drink I like a high quality like Pellegrino, like just sparkling water. and have some lime in there. Just throw some like lemon or lime, and that's my wife and I on Friday night sometimes like where it would have been a beer. We're just like, let's just have a nice quality sparkling water with some good lime in it. Enjoy it, and so you pop it open the drink. You kind of get some of those like cues that you normally have, and I find like that's been really helpful in my fitness journey of just finding fun substitutes like you're talking about here that have a lot of the qualities of you can substitute them into the lifestyle that you already did. And so if I'm hanging out with my friends in Spain, if I'd had some of these other things like non-alcoholic beer, I could have fit in just fine and done
Yeah.
pretty well with it and still had a very similar experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I, I found that like two things just on that note. One, like if I just tell people I'm sober, like people don't give me a hard time.
Right.
Um, and I feel like now, because this whole non-alcoholic beer thing is very new for me. It's like I've only been doing it for like 2 months. Like I just kind of like randomly over the summer was like, hey, let me try a non-alcoholic beer and see if I even like this. And thankfully I always like to taste a beer. So like a non-alcoholic beer to me tastes really good. And it really started when my wife like randomly got this hop splash water from our grocery store. And I was like, oh God, this is like hoppy. It tastes a little bit like a beer, but not quite like, and then that made me be like, I wonder what a non-alcoholic beer tastes like. Um, but like one of the easiest ways to get fitter is to cut out alcohol, because it
Mm-hmm.
does one, alcohol, it like encourages your body to store more body fat, and it also makes you want to eat more. So usually when
Mm.
you drink alcohol, you end up eating like garbage food. And
Yeah.
so like if you can like cut that out, not only are you not taking on the caloric load of the alcohol, whether it's beer, wine, or hard alcohol, but then you're also not like getting to that, like, a little tipsy or even drunk when you're like, I will eat anything in sight, including a whole pizza. Um, right. So, but nonetheless, for those who like to drink, please continue moderation if you can, as long as it's not interfering with your life, your happiness, your health, your fitness. By all means, continue. I'm just a bit of a obsessive, addictive type person, so it's better for me to just completely abstain. So, you got any supplements or food stuff to share with us?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be for those of people who listen to the show regularly. I'm not going to be one of the people who like has a novel, crazy, weird thing that is going to change the world. But I'm just going to share because this is me working with you, Justin. Like when we had coaching, there were just some of the basic things that really helped me. And I brought my little scale. My this
He's got a
this
food
scale,
scale.
food scale. Like this is a game changer. Like it's because one of the biggest challenges I had was maybe other people resonate with this. It's like just knowing how much you're eating and like is this apple I ate? Like how many calories is that? Like how big is this? Like I didn't have like a perception or a habit around like the quantity of food. And so for the last 2.5 years, however long I've been doing this, I don't always like stay on there where I'm measuring every single thing because that gets a little tedious. But even
Yep.
today, like in the last couple of weeks, I'm not measuring my calories every week. But this morning, I have my normal breakfast I do every morning. I still put, I still have a measuring cup. I still put things on the scale. I had some grilled chicken today in a wrap for my lunch. I put the chicken on the scale, or I put the bag of the chicken on the scale, and then when I dumped out, some of the frozen chicken to microwave it, I put it back on there to see how many grams like less it is in the bag. It's just like it takes me like 5 seconds, and it just gives me okay, that was 183 grams of grilled chicken. Cool, like I'm good with that. It's not 500 grams, something that is a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. So that I think that's like such a simple tool that food scale, but that was like probably the biggest gadget game changer for me was just having that in the kitchen.
Yeah. A couple notes on that. So, for those who have followed my journey, I literally tracked my food religiously for 10 years without like missing a single day of tracking my food, which is nuts, I know. But, it was one of the ways I was able to kind of not only, get to sub 10% body fat and stay like that for, over 10 years year round, but it was also a way for me to kind of have a tool that helped me, uh, you know, gave me the time and space to do the healing I needed to do around my relationship with food and around my relationship with my body while still staying fit. So I didn't have to like, um, you know, it helped a lot. Now, I will be honest, for the last year and a half or longer, I have not tracked my food at all. And the cool thing is, I'm still, for a year and a half running without tracking, 8 to 10% body fat year round.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think everyone needs to track their food, for 10 years. But I think everyone can benefit from taking, say, 3 months, 6 months and tracking all your food. So similar to, what Chad's saying, you learn to understand like how much you're actually eating. Because I guarantee if you don't have the level of body fat that you want, meaning you are carrying more body fat than you want, you are eating more calories than you need. You are in a calorie surplus. And that's why most people, year after year, continue to get a little bit heavier or sometimes a lot heavier. But it's like, oh shit, like, I'm up 5 pounds this year, following year up another 5. And then, 5 years go by and you're like, wow, I'm 25 pounds heavier than I was 5 years ago. And it happens really slow. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we're constantly being told to eat more. Like it's everywhere. There's, it's in TV shows, it's in social media. It's like, eat food, buy this, eat this. And there's so much hyper palatable food. And so if you can take the time to track your food, you actually learn like, oh, this is like, what 6 ounces of chicken or tofu looks like. This is what a cup of rice or a cup of broccoli looks like. And then if you like Chad literally lost 17 pounds and dropped like multiple percentages of body fat working with me. And it was like pretty easy, right? Like you just tracked your food and hit the macros we set for you, and it was like, wow, it's just kind of like coming off pretty easy.
Yeah, it's like just the consistency, kind of going back to YouTube, just doing that thing over and over again. It's not fancy, it's not, but the tracking, it's kind of like tracking your money too. Like it's very similar to that. Like if you pay attention to it, you're gonna actually like start changing it. So for me, it was like getting back from Spain. I still drink here and there a little bit, but like most weekends I don't have any alcohol. I track that as well. I put that in the tracker, and I've got new habits now, and so I'm actually kind of plateaued. I don't know if you and I hadn't had a conversation about it lately, but I'm probably like 16% plus or minus. Sometimes it's 15.5. But I'm at a maintenance point, but I know where I am, and I know like, all right, if I want to try to start having less calories, but I've maintained the same body weight of like 190 pounds, 191 for years now, a couple of years now. So it's like that. It feels really good to be at a point where you sort of know what it took to get to that point, and you also know what it feels like on an intuitive basis to eat meals that get you to that point. And then it's not as cumbersome. Like that first month or two are kind of it's kind of tough, to figure it out. But once that habit's made, then you like when you eat too much, you're like, oh man, I ate way too much in that meal, and then you can like not eat the next meal or like eat less than the next meal or whatever. You can kind of compensate it based on your gut feeling and your knowledge instead of having to use all the tools every single time.
Yeah, I really think that tracking your food is a form of mindful eating, and it kind of reconnects you to like what you're eating, right? Because you actually have to pause and like enter it into, MyFitnessPal or whatever tracker you're using. Um, and, what I do with all my clients, and this, is like we have you track your food to get to your ideal physique, your ideal body weight, your ideal, body fat percentage. And then like you keep tracking for a while. So, you are literally through the tracking, you're learning intuitively how to eat to support the physique that you want. And then you go to intuitive eating like me. And, my goal for all my clients is eventually you're intuitively eating and maintaining your ideal physique. And that's where I'm at. And that's where I try to get all my clients. But it is like, it's so true with the money stuff and the fitness stuff, it's like what gets measured gets managed, as Peter Drucker said. And, I took it a little bit further. What gets measured gets managed, empowered, and manifested. So if you want to improve
Hmm.
anything in your life, whether it's your fitness, your money, or some other area of your life, and like Chad, like you showed me the metrics you track in your business, and it's no wonder you're so successful, like, with RPM and your other businesses, is because like you're tracking the key metrics, and like you can't improve what you don't track. And I think as a businessman, you're like a prime example of how like you showed me like how you track your newsletter subscribers even, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
but through that, like you have 45,000 newsletter subscribers, which, or email subscribers, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's fun to see how different parts of your life transform. I think I heard somebody say one time, "How you do one thing is how you do everything," and
Yeah.
I think that's so true. Like and some people are more analytical and like obsessed about it more than others. That's cool. Like we all have like our different flavors of how we approach something, but I do think how much you measure something or how serious you take it is how much you care about it.
Yeah.
Like it takes some effort. It takes some, energy to do that. But if you care about your fitness, if you care about your money, if you care about like a business to me is just a way to solve problems for people. Like I
Yeah.
really care about how much I can help people. I really care about my nonprofit and how much we can make an impact in our community. Like you got to measure it. But it doesn't have to be crazy. Like I think about like your relationships. Like how do you measure relationships? Like, well, one of my favorite things is I don't get like quantify every single thing with my wife and how we have a relationship, but the number one metric every single week, this from coaching me, is like I have a date morning with my wife. It's like we go work
Yeah.
out together, we eat breakfast together, we have conversations, we reconnect on the mayhem that we've had for the last week with our family and everything's going on. Like if there were one thing that I would absolutely not miss, like if I missed that date, I've missed like one in the last couple of years. Like it feels bad. Like
Yeah.
Carrie says the same thing. My wife, she's like, that is like our rock. And how do I measure that? I had this little. Let me pull out the just for people who are watching on YouTube, you can see it. I had this little old school like analog physical planner, and every single week I have this little checklist. And on my checklist, so if you want to get in a high tech world here's how people are doing things. I have this little checklist of things on the list,
Yeah.
and one of the things on the list is that I have a date with my wife, and it's actually up here somewhere. Date with my wife. I have other
Yeah.
things like my nutrition stuff when I'm tracking that. Did I do that day? I have a little exercise routine? Did I do one set of stretching, 30 minutes of exercise, 12,500 steps? I'll check that off that day if I do it. So I just have, you don't have to be like crazy with these things, but if you care about it, you got to like pay attention to it. If you don't care, if you say you care about it and you're not willing to at least like do some basic tracking of it, then
Yeah.
I would put forward that you, as somebody who coaches a lot of people, I would say you probably don't, you're not putting your actions with your what you say you really want to do. You got to connect. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the people who implement anything that's worthwhile, whether it's sports or business or fitness or whatever, like they're meticulous. Like they're super meticulous. I read one of my favorite books that I brought. I know I'm jumping all over the place here, Justin, but there's a book by John Wooden that is this is like my by my bed. I read this book all the time, and it's like it's got these little micro chapters that just talk about how he was a basketball coach, but it applies to so many things. And he when he had practices, he won 10 national championships at UCLA in like 12 years. One of the most successful coaches of all time. And when his basketball practices, he measured every single thing, like every player he had for the last 3 years of that player's career, every single drill they had done on every single practice, what they did last year, what they did this year, what their weight was this year. Like that was the most successful basketball coach of all time. Tracked these little bitty things. He would go at the beginning of practice in the very first practice of the year. He would focus on things like putting on your socks, tying your shoes. Like seems like ridiculously stupid little things, and but yet he was so focused on little bitty things, and he was the one who won really big championships. And that translates to every single part of your life, is that the people who are really effective in something, they pay attention to these minute, stupid little details that some people think, and they figure out you don't measure every single detail, but you find out what are the most important details
Yeah.
that really matter. For me, life, all right, date with my wife, like don't miss that. Or for fitness or nutrition, how many calories did I eat? Like, so if you can figure out a way to integrate that, I think that's one of the cool things of my coaching with you, Justin, is like it rang true because I've been doing it in other areas of my life. I'm like, oh, do this my food, do this my fitness. All right, cool. Let's play ball. I can do this.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually did track my wife happiness for like 4 to 6 months. Every Sunday I would say, "Babe, 1 out of 10, 10 being like I'm the best husband ever. How did I do this week?" And she would say, whatever it was, like, "Oh, 8." And I'd be like, "Great. What do I have to do this week to get a 10?" And so I did this for like 4 to 6 months. And like sometimes it was like, "You did a 4, you did a terrible job." I was like, "Yeah, I know. But what was really helpful for me is that question of like, what do I have to do this coming week to get a 10? Because then she told me, because I was open to the feedback, I was like, she told me how to be the best husband for her. Right. And I share this a lot of times with clients that if you want to do this with your spouse, do not volunteer to rate them. So this is an opportunity for you to grow,
Yeah,
not for
yeah,
you to force them to grow. So I never was like, "Hey, babe, thanks for the 8. You get a 7." You know what I mean? I would just be like, "Great. I'm an 8. What do I have to do to get a 10?" And I never asked her like if she wanted a rating. And that is the one thing anytime I share this, I'm like, do not offer to rate your spouse. If they say,
yeah,
"Hey, I want you to rate me too," cool, but do
yeah.
not offer.
Yeah, for those who are still listening to us talk about all this, you probably resonate with us. You're probably the nerd in your family. The person your spouse, your boyfriend or girlfriend or something, they probably don't like this stuff, or maybe they're like they roll their eyes when you do it. So
Yeah.
like you got to move slowly when you're trying to like make people budget or whatever. Like
Yeah.
this is a good leadership lesson too, Justin. Like I've just found that what's good for me is not necessarily good for the other person, and it takes humility to be a leader. And by leader, I mean just any in a family, in a business, as a coach. Like I think I find the best leaders are humble in that they go to other people and they're willing to be imperfect and to learn, and they're not
Yeah.
trying to tell everybody what to do. They're not saying you should do this, you should do that. Like no, that's crap. Like that's yeah, be humble enough to say how can I improve and have that attitude. And when you do that, people tend to over the long run, well, they're like, I respect Justin because he's always trying to improve and he's not trying to tell me what to do. And then they come to you and ask, well, how do you think I could improve? Like they'll ask
Yeah.
you. And then you can teach and coach. But if the person doesn't ask to teach or coach as a leader, as a teacher, that it's not going to be helpful to volunteer it.
Yeah. So on that note, I know we're kind of like, what was the name of the wooden book?
It's just called Wooden
Okay.
lifetime of observations and reflections on and off the court.
So is he the inspiration behind why you go by Coach Carson?
Not exactly, but I did it originally just because I had a lot of high school coaches and football coaches, basketball coaches, baseball coaches
Okay.
who I felt like they were the epitome of what I wanted to try to do with my Coach Carson business, which was I'm just there because I care. And
Mm.
like a high school coach makes no money. Like those to me, like a high school sports coach is like they're saints. Like they're there to like help people improve their lives, and they're not making a bunch of money. Like you see the college NFL coaches feel like that. They also care, but I'm skeptical because they're making millions of dollars. Like okay, whatever. Like
Yeah.
so I wanted to channel like a little bit of old school high school coach, but at the same time, as I've learned more about John Wooden, I find this like I'm not a basketball coach, but I like translating sports metaphors into everything else because I was just played sports my whole life. I'm a basketball player. I played football in college. I'm a scholarship athlete. So I find sports metaphors just really work with my brain. And
Yeah.
he like studying a leader like John Wooden. I just like I find it so fascinating. And he in particular though, there's a lot of coaches and there's a lot of leaders who are kind of dictator leaders and like basketball, there's another coach named Bobby Knight, who was also a good coach, but he was like a dictator leader. He would tell people what to do. He'd scream at them, "You're a piece of scum. You're horrible." And he was like kind of that Marine boot sergeant kind of person. Whereas Coach Wooden was also really hard, but his goal was not to like humiliate somebody. His goal was to like say, "Hey, my expectation is Justin that you are up here. This is what your potential is, and you just played right here at 6. Therefore, we're going to do our whole practice over again, and it's going to be really hard. But I'm doing it because you're better than that. Like, you should be right here. And like, that was his. So you see that, like, that feels different, right? I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing to be able to lead people by expectation and inspiring them, as opposed to belittling people. And I find he's like this old school, like, guy from the 1950s looking dude, but he would fit in 2025, because I don't think people respect that kind of old dictator style coaching in sports or business or whatever anymore. I think they expect to be treated like a human being. And so that's just one example. Like, I find people like that really fascinating, because if you study like the details of what they do, and then try to incorporate that into my own business, my own teaching, coaching. What are little ways I can try to do that same thing and show people, like, to lead them by expectation, as opposed to like hitting them with a whip and saying you're horrible. That this is a bad way to do it.
Yeah. Um, I love that. I want to read that book. So,
Yeah.
I don't play basketball, I don't watch basketball, but I think, uh, people who follow me on social media know I'm obsessed with pickleball right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's like sports teach you so many life lessons,
Mm-hmm.
business lessons, teamwork lessons. It's so amazing. So I definitely want to check out the book. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. And On that note, because I was talking about relationship stuff, I didn't grab it. It's in my living room. But my wife and I, we just went on this road trip to Utah and Colorado, and my wife brought this like conversation card deck called Get Closer. And we drove, like, we had multiple drives that were like 6 to 12 hours. And the deck is questions that strengthen bonds and build relationships. We got the couples edition. There's a dating edition and a family bonding edition. Um and there's three levels. There's close, closer, and closest. And like the level of deepness of the questions gets like deeper and deeper and deeper. And we literally went through probably 80-90% of the deck, because like we just drove, like, we went on this 2-week road trip. And Chad, like, after that trip, I felt so deeply connected and significantly more intimately connected to my wife, because of the questions that this deck brought up for me. And this was my wife's idea, so all props to my wife. She got the deck, she brought the deck. And I just, now every one of my coaching clients who's in a relationship, I'm like, if you're going on a road trip, get these cards, because it made talking about really incredible topics so easy, because we just read the question, the card. So I'll give you like a couple examples to illustrate this for the audience. Like, like the level one would be like, share an example of like a happy childhood moment. And like, it was cool, because like my wife would share something I never knew about her, and I'd share something she never knew about. And then a level two, going deeper, be like, now, like, tell me about a traumatic childhood event that has shaped who you are today. So we're getting deeper. And then level three, the hardest, is like, tell me something I do that really annoys you and how I could do it better. But the card asked it, so like we both have to answer it. So it's not like, yeah, hey babe, this thing you do really annoys me. It's not like I'm just like randomly telling her what annoys me. But it was like amazing. I see I see you laughing, Chad. But it's like, and it builds to those harder questions, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like, if you're going on a road trip, whether it's an hour or multiple hours, like, or you just want to have like a cheap date night where you like open a bottle of wine if you drink, or have a non-alcoholic beer together over a homemade meal, like, bring these cards out, because it'll just take you places in your relationship you've never been before, and you will feel so much more connected to your significant other. So I wanted to share that. And I'll put a link to those. You can get them on Amazon. I'll put a link in the show notes.
I'm getting it. Good. I love your tips. I love your recommendations. I'm definitely buying those. We have a similar kind of set of cards that we use in our family. Like, we'll have like a family meal on Sunday night with our kids. And if anybody who has kids, you know how hard it is to find times to actually have conversations, especially like teenage kids. It's like, that is like pulling teeth, right? And so, but we have these little set of cards where my daughters will pull these out. They're like, "Hey, let's have some of the conversation cards." I'm like, "Let's do it. Like, let's go." And
Yeah.
I think it's such a good idea. And it kind of gets out of that default mode of like, let's all listen to our thing, our podcast or our music on our own little headphones. Like it's a cool way to hear.
Yep.
I love conversations. Like and to your point, I would love to hear some of the answers of those questions that maybe you don't often have a chance to ask that in like your day-to-day routine. You just don't get there.
Yep.
So I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, and the nice thing is the card deck does all the work for you. So you don't have to think about what to talk about, right? Like, sure, like hanging out with your spouse, like, yeah, you can talk about a couple things, but if you're like in a 4 hour, 6 hour, 7 hour car drive, you're going to run out of things to talk about because you're just going to be like, I don't know what to talk about. But if you
Yeah.
had a deck like this, it just makes it so easy. So like we do the cards for like an hour, or two, and then we'd like listen to music, and then we'd be like, hey, you want to do the cards again? And it was just so amazing. So awesome. Give us another book recommendation, Chad. I'm gonna
All
check
right.
out the wooden one, but what else you got for us?
I got a whole stack here. I'm not gonna be able to go through all these, but one that really I think a lot of your financial independence listener folks might have already heard of or find interesting. I read this one called Die with Zero recently.
So
Have
good.
you read that one or heard of it? So
Yes.
it's good because like he actually quoted in the beginning one of my favorite financial books, Your Money or Your Life, which to me was like I read that in the when I was 23 or so, and it really got me into this idea. The big idea from Your Money or Your Life that I took away were two ideas. One was that money is just life energy. That it's like you work, you save money, you earn money, but it's like don't give money more importance than it has. It's just stored life energy. You worked in the past, and now it's stored up in this dollar bill or this money in your bank account, this investment you have, but then like use it wisely. Don't like waste your money. Like, and so for them, it was more about frugality. And what Die with Zero was some of the big takeaways I had were two things. One was that spend your money more, spend more money earlier, and that most people, especially like he gave this metaphor, this story at the beginning where he said there's the ant and the grasshopper. There's like the old Aesop's fable where the grasshopper was like the it was playing and drinking and doing all these having fun all summer, never saved for the winter. The ants were always preparing for winter, and then then the winter came, grasshopper starved and died, right? Or in the Disney version, the ants let the grasshopper in, the happy ending kind of story. So in that story, the ant was the hero and the grasshopper was the villain who just screwed up, right? But in the book, he's like, no, wait a minute. I know the grasshopper should have saved and prepared, so I get that. But when did the ant actually live?
Yep.
Like so most people who are trying to get financial independence are probably ants. You're good at saving money, you're good at preparing, but like
Yep.
when are you actually living and like enjoying your life? And that was a big takeaway for me because I have some ant-like qualities, right? I'm a go-getter, and so part of that was just thinking deliberately about the stages of your life on when you should spend more money and how you should spend your money, and what kind of trips should you take, what kinds of things should you do. I even thought about like giving away money and inheritance, and whether I want to do that or how to do that. So lots I could say about that. I'm going to take a drink of water so I can take a break here, but that was like challenging book. It had me thinking about a lot of things.
Yeah, I think anyone who's like a hardcore person should totally read that book. I read it a couple years ago, and it really changed my because I used to be like hardcore frugal for that's how I got to financial independence so fast. And Bill Perkins, who wrote the book, um, he really makes an argument that like you have these like buckets uh,
Mm-hmm.
throughout your life where you can do certain things, but later get you can't access those buckets anymore. So like if you want to go like you know crazy skiing, like on crazy mountains, like cool, you can do that in your 40s and your 50s and maybe your 60s, but like when you're 80, you're not skiing anymore. Like unless like you've done a really good job, and you're definitely not doing that 90 or 100. And so like I love in the book how he encourages you to spend money on those things that like later in life you can't even spend money on them because you can't do them anymore, right? So like pull those out of the future into the present moment, spend more money now, knowing that later you're not going to be able to spend money on it because you're not going to be able to do it. And I thought that was really powerful. And you hit on such like, I'm so glad you brought up this book, because one of the things I said that I want to talk about with you before we hit record is like, what season am I in, and like what game am I playing, right? And you know what, I'm going to tie this back to FinCon. There was like people at FinCon that I talked to that have like a $5 million net worth or $2 million net worth or whatever, and they're financially independent, and they're still crazy. Two things: they're either like still ultra frugal, like where they won't even like go out to a meal
Yeah.
with like a friend and pay for it because they want to save money, but they have like $2 million, or they have like $5 million and they're still grinding to make more money. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to keep playing the more net worth game. Like, stop playing that game, and like, instead of obsessing over making money, make more of your life. And I fell prey to this. You know, I just did an interview with Doug Cunnington from Mile High Fi, and we actually talked about this. And that'll be out in, I don't know, if a few weeks or a few months, and I'm going to re-release it on my show. But like, I went from like, you know, earning a lot of money as a B2B salesperson in the SF Bay Area texting, to no longer doing that. And then I was like, oh, now I got to figure out how to make 500 to $1 million a year with my online business, even though I'm already financially independent. And so I spent the first like 6 to 8 months of like no longer having a 9 to 5, like kind of like berating myself to like, okay, we have to figure out how to make this kind of money with my online business, because I was still playing the, I need to like earn this amount of money game, and I need to like grow my net worth game, when the truth is like, no, no, like that's an old operating system, like that no longer makes sense. And I think a lot of people in the FI community, they get stuck on this like frugality to an extreme, as well as a like grow your net worth to an extreme, where they don't invest in like really creating a rich life, like that
Yeah.
is full of things that light them up, that they're passionate about, that is full of purpose and meaning. And I think Bill Perkins' book is like a great kind of like read to help people like think about like, how do you use your money to build a life you absolutely love?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he made me think of something. I wrote back in the day something called a Money Life Manifesto on my website, and it was sort of my call to action, like to get me started with my blog, and it's still to this day it really resonates with the reason I got into it. And I talked about Aristotle way back in ancient Greece, and he was ancient philosopher, and he kind of admonished his students. He said, "Don't be on either extreme of any issue." So, for example, he had this idea of a golden mean, and I think it's easy when you're in the financial independence community, it's easy to be like the extreme frugality, or even on the other end, the extreme grasshopper. People spend way too much money. And what Aristotle said is like, every virtue, if you do too much of it or too little, it could be a bad thing. So take courage, for example. If courage is a good thing, right? But if you have too much courage, you're the kind of person who jumps out of an airplane without a parachute. And that's like
Yep.
stupid. That's not courageous. That's being like ridiculous. And if you have too little courage, you're going to sit in the corner and suck your thumb, and you're never going to get in the airplane in the first place. You're a coward, like so you don't want to be a coward. You don't want to be a ridiculously reckless person. You want to have the golden mean of that virtue. And I find like frugality and money is the same way. Like it's like, you don't want to be like the extreme miser who never spends their money. Like that was just a tool. Like you spent less for a period of your life, a season of your life, so that you could get some momentum and accumulate. And it's okay to spend some money. It's okay to have enjoyment. On the other end of that, though, I think there's a lot of people who they equate their happiness with spending money, and they can't imagine not spending $300,000 a year. And I think if you're in that habit, if you're like on that extreme, you probably need to like go try to be frugal for a while and see if you can enjoy your life going for a picnic in the park and not going for a big fancy meal, to see if you can still be happy in doing
Yep.
that. So like, See, all this is just a personal development journey. It's just like figuring out like where am I being a little too extreme on this thing or that. And what Bill Perkins I think did a really good job of is saying, hey, you don't want to be the grasshopper, obviously, but like all of you ants out there, like you're being ridiculous. Like you're
Yeah.
never spending your money, like and particularly spend it on experiences. And that was
Yeah.
something he had a whole chapter about. Like this is something I've been on a kick on for years. We have a common friend, Jillian Johnsrud, who wrote a book about mini retirements about you're on this journey, you're on this financial independence journey. There it is, retire often. Um, I equate it like you're climbing a mountain, and if you just equate happiness and success with being at the top of the mountain, you're going to grind for 10 or 15 or 20 years and never enjoy your life. And what I've done is it's really worked for me is to have every 3 to 5 years take a break, take a mini retirement, whether it's a month or a year and a half, like live the retirement lifestyle during that 5 year period of your life and do the thing that you can only do in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, and have an experience of retirement. Don't put it off, like don't defer life until the very end. That's a travesty. Like you're not guaranteed anything. And if you focus on doing it now, you'll spend some money. Like some of the best money I spent at 29 years old, my wife and I spent $20,000 to go to South America for 4 months in Spain and backpack around and stay in hostels and go to Patagonia. Like I have these memory dividends from that trip, which resonate with me. Like I just enjoyed it just now thinking about it. I enjoyed it this morning thinking about it. And you have these dividends which stack up for your entire life. And the more experiences you have along the way, then you're not putting it off until the end of your life. You're making your life this rich tapestry, like throughout the whole thing. And if you think about it, that's a more optimized way to use your life energy. Your life energy is just a tool, and if happiness and fulfillment is the goal, and purpose and living a good life is the goal, then it's like a work of art. You've got to like not be too extreme with it. You got to paint the colors a little bit differently, and you're unique. You're your own person. But I find like that idea of the golden mean is so helpful for me because it helps me get out of these like extreme mentalities in anything and try to find like, all right, what's the happy place? Where's the place where for myself this virtue of money or courage or whatever really like it works. It works in my life.
Yeah. Um, that was one of my favorite parts of the book is the whole like memory dividends concept, because we all like I'll explain it for the audience just so it makes sense. So like, I'll use the road trip, the 2 week road trip I did with my wife, where we went to Utah and Colorado, we went to Zion, we went to Leadville, and watched our friend compete in a 100-mile ultra marathon. And there were so many memories from that trip that like still to this day, even though it's like happened a few weeks ago or the other month, that like every time I think about it, I get happy. And it's paying me in happiness via dividends from the memory that I made on that experiential trip. And like,
Yep.
we were road tripping, staying in like low cost Airbnbs and stuff. It wasn't like we were like spending loads of money. And it's like similar to you, like Chad, that when you lived in South America, that's still like, I know you're in your 40s, so this is like well over a decade later. It's still paying you
Yeah.
happiness dividends from the memory that you made doing that trip, right?
And it's paying dividends in the relationship too. Like I took it with my wife, and you got experience that with another person. So it's like it just when you really think about those experiences, and if you prioritize them earlier on, it just the reverberations it has for the rest of your life. Like if you think about like the ultimate philosophy is when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to regret not doing, and
Yep.
what are you going to be happy you did? Like that's the
Yep.
ultimate question. And
Yep.
that's what you value. That's what's important to you. And I know for myself, these times I like press pause on life and spent time with my wife, with my kids, on myself, on my fitness journey. Like those things that I press pause on are the things I'm going to be so happy that I did. The extra little grind, the extra $500,000 of my net worth, I could
Yep.
give a crap. Yeah, I don't care. Whatever.
Yep.
Like it makes it's just a tool.
Yep.
If I wasted that 500,000 and didn't spend it on something worthwhile or contribute it to something worthwhile, what is the point? Why did I do
Yep.
this?
Yeah. And I think everything like the golden mean principle you're speaking about, like kind of like the middle path. Um, like Frugality was an incredible tool for me for about 3-4 years. It like rocketed me to financial independence by being ultra frugal. But then at some point you get to this like, level of wealth where you're actually like shorting your life experience by like wasting time being frugal when you could just pay the money and either create the experience or buy back your time or whatever. And that's where like, my comment is like and you literally just wrote a post about this, like what you got you here won't necessarily get you there,
Yeah.
meaning there being the next level. And so like I think in the beginning of anyone's financial independence journey, being frugal is really really smart. But
Yeah.
eventually you hit a level of wealth where you want to start to use your wealth to build a life that is full of memories that pay happiness dividends for the rest of your life. So it's again like, you just have to be intentional and also kind of just aware what season of life you're in, like I was saying earlier. And I was stuck in this like I need to keep earning like I've been earning like operating system when it wasn't the right operating system. And I finally uninstalled that program. And now I'm in the season of like, I want to play pickleball 5 to 7 days a week for 3 to 5+ hours a day. And it is literally, I've met probably 100+ people in the last 6 months. I see the same 30 to 50 people every week that I feel so connected to my Santa Cruz County community because we play at different courts every day across the entire county. And I'm so freaking happy. I'm literally like, I have so much energy and I'm so happy. And I feel like I'm in this whole new season of like connecting to my local community, which, like, I know, Chad, like what you're doing with like the walking paths, like you are investing your energy and, time and likely money into your community. And that makes your life so rich, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in-person relationships. I find, like, thing I'm building. I love your pickleball story, by the way. Like, I'm happy for you as a friend. Like, I just think that's just happy. I think it's so cool. And for me, like this journey I've been on, like talking about seasons of life, I've gone back and forth. Like I'm very, the word's ambivalent. Sometimes I'm all in on making money early in my career. I'm trying to make a lot of money. I went through a period of like 3 to 5 years where I'm like, I don't need to make money. Like, why am I so into that? And so I kind of pulled back. But now I'm actually back in another, now I want to make money again. And I'll explain why, because I don't think it's good or bad either way. Like I went through a while with my Coach Carson business where it was just like, it was almost like I was like, I just want to give away free information. It's a bad thing. It's like to sell it. I don't want to sell it. That's not cool. I just want to give it away free. And I did, and I still do. But I also started thinking about it a couple years ago, like reading the John Wooden book, actually. It had nothing to do with business. But I was like, I'm a teacher and a coach. Am I really giving everything I can to people? Like, am I really contributing as much as I could? And I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was kind of a hobby. I make some YouTube videos. I do a blog here and there. And yet I'd been somebody who created businesses. Like I created a real estate business. I'd had a team. And I was like, no, when I really did some reflection, I was in Spain when I was doing this. It was a time when I was doing nothing, no business really. I reflected on it. It's like, you know what? I had this ability to make money and I have this ability to help people. I have the ability to like have people on a team around me. Like I'm ready to do this again. Like like I had this compulsion to like actually build something again, to build a business again. And I had a couple motivations that made me excited about making money again. One was I wanted to pay a team to do some of the stuff I didn't want to do. So that's first and foremost. Like I don't want to edit every YouTube video, but I like making YouTube videos. I wanted to have a community, but I'm not really good at typing into the forum and responding to every single person's reply. That's just not my thing. So I need a community manager who I pay good money to have a good community manager. I need to have an assistant who helps me check my email. It's like that was my like prerequisite for me to get into business. I might have to have a $300,000 a year overhead like to do all that, right? And so it's like, all right, I at least got to make 300,000, but I'm not just going to do a business that makes no money. Like that. I need to have a margin. Like it's not
Yeah.
smart to be in business. So I want to have a margin, a profit margin, because I had this other thing. I'm really into social business. This idea that you make money to also solve social problems.
Mm.
And I feel like financial independence should be, for myself at least, about more than just having enjoyable experiences, which I think is great. There's nothing wrong with those. But I think we also, after we free up our time from a job, we should be asking ourselves, like, what problems in our community could an entrepreneur solve that nobody's working on or nobody's solving? And this one little thing I'm doing with the trails is one specific problem that in the South and a lot of American cities, they were built around cars. They weren't built around walking, biking. And I could go on a rabbit hole about this all day if you want to hear me like go on a rant, but it's really important to me. And there's nobody making it happen. For the last 10 years, nobody in my town was really making it happen. And so a small group and I organized this thing, and I've contributed, lots of money to it. I'm the number one donator to this nonprofit. That's us. The number one like money person or time person. That's us. Like, I love it. Like this is why I'm passionate about it, because and so I wanted to make more money in my Coach Carson business so that I could funnel it back to spending money in my local community. And I imagine, like, for example, if I have $100,000 sitting here in the bank that I'm willing to donate, and I go to the local community and say, "Hey, we have this wealthy donor who's willing to give $100,000, but only if the city matches it 3 to 1. If the city puts in 300,000, this wealthy donor will give 100,000."
Mm.
Like, how cool? How do you think you can raise some money if you start doing that? Like saying, "Who this wealthy donor was me. Like, I'm willing to put the money in." And so, like, I found like I think you need to have money to make a difference and make an impact. It's just the reality of this world. So I kind of went through that ambivalent phase. I don't need to make any money. I've got enough wealth to pay our bills and all that. I'm cool.
Yeah.
But it was about more than being comfortable. Like, I got to the stage where I got frustrated with problems in my community, and
Mm.
I'm like, I want to solve these problems, man. Let's do this. Like, it got me like energized again to go make money, to like use that money to to change things and to make a difference. And I think a lot of us have those things. Like, it might be for you, like you're playing pickleball and you're like, these pickleball courts suck. Like, why do we not have more pickleball courts?
Yeah.
Like Justin goes out and raises $100,000 and builds one right here because it's like this thing needs to happen. And I
Yeah.
find that so cool to be somebody who, we're not a billionaire, but we can make an impact on our community and like tilt the long-term legacy of the places we live and solve problems because we invested our time, we invested our money, but most of all we invested our problem solving skills as
Mm.
entrepreneurs. And if you have smart enough to sell stuff and to achieve financial independence, we need you to also solve these problems in our community and to be a local like advocate. Like, that's really important. And so I'm just fired up about that, and I think it's such a cool way to spend our resources and our financial independence.
Yeah, a couple comments. One, I think you've done such a great job of like taking these mini retirements, like, these sabbaticals where you kind of like, go live in another country for like a full year and kind of like chill out on the like business building and the like money making, and then you come back and you're like, I'm ready to like
Let's go.
go.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome for me to talk to you because I just basically finished like a 10 more than 10 years, but 10 years specifically in Silicon Valley, SF Bay Area tech. And like I think I need to just kind of like chill out. I radically reduced the size of my coaching program. Like, I shrunk it down so my time commitment wasn't as big. I moved to doing podcasts every other week instead of every week. And I'm just like playing right now, like with the pickleball. But the other thing that I'm doing that's related to what you just said is I'm literally maybe a month out from like holding my first men's group meeting, because I've always wanted a men's group in my local area. And Chad, if you ever want to come, you can be an honorary member, but you have to come to
Yay.
Santa Cruz for it. But I've
I'll be
always
there.
wanted a men's group that would meet up like once a month. And I kind of, looked around for one, and then I was like, why don't I just build the one I want with the people that I want? So I've been hand selecting, inviting like people, and I think about 12 yeses, and I'm waiting to get about to 15 yeses. And then I'm going to set the first, meetup date. It'll be in nature, either on the beach or in the forest or whatever. And I have this whole vision of how I'm going to run it. and I'm building what I want in my local community, knowing that it's going to like serve these other men to empower them to be great stewards, not only in their relationship and their family, but also within the Santa Cruz community. And like, that is what I'm really excited about. And like, I'm not planning on making money from it. It's just like something I want to do for myself that also gives back to my community.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. So, before I forget, because I said, oh, let's talk about supplements, and we talked about a scale, and we talked about non-alcoholic beer. I just want to share 2 or 3 supplements that have been interesting and fun for me to try out. I'm always trying to optimize my sleep, and recently I started trying like CBD balm, like a cream or a lotion, or like a thick balm, and I'll just put it on like where my muscles are sore. And I notice when I do it, I sleep deeper and longer. And it's like, it doesn't have any THC in it, so it's not like I'm putting this stuff on and getting high, but it's like it like calms my body or my nervous system, and I just sleep longer and deeper. And so I just wanted to share, like, because sleep is the foundation of your health and fitness. I truly believe sleep is the wonder drug, because if you're not getting enough sleep and then you get enough sleep, you're like, wow, I feel so good. So I wanted to share that. And then this other one that I've been playing around with recently in this last week, so this is fresh, is there's this herbal supplement called Malungu. And I'll put a link to the one I'm taking, and it has like passion flower, and it's just like a powder that you mix in with hot water and drink it before you go to sleep. And it's also been helping me sleep deeper and longer. And I've for the last since I left the 9 to 5 world, I've been sleeping like a baby. But I'm always like, love to test out things. So those are kind of 2 supplements that I've been playing around with recently that have empowered my sleep.
It's one of the things I appreciate about you, Justin, which among many things is that you're the guinea pig who gets to share all these crazy things that you're trying that I can like figure out if I want to try them out too. Like people ask me like, what supplements do you use? I'm like, I drink water. Like, that's about all I got. I don't have anything cool like you got.
Yeah, I will share one other, and I'm stealing this from Tim Ferriss and Dr. Rhonda Patrick. Is I've been taking creatine for, I don't know, 20 years. And ever since I turned 40, I started taking 10 grams a day. Like a lot of times they'll say take 3 to 5 grams a day. And creatine is the most researched sports supplement in the world. It's been around forever. There's really no downsides to it, except for some people. It does cause like gastro, it might make you have to use the restroom or something like that. So like start with less amount. But what I heard in this conversation with Dr. Rhonda Patrick and Tim Ferriss is, on the nights that you accidentally don't get enough sleep, sick kid, stressed out about work, out late partying, whatever, you can actually take like 20 to 30 grams. So this is like a mega dose, and it will ameliorate most of the cognitive decline from not getting enough sleep. And so that's the one, is like, if you're not taking creatine, not only is it great for sports performance, but a lot of the new research is showing that is actually really good for cognition. So it makes your thinking better. To me, creatine is something that everyone should take. I just take a super cheap powder. All you need is creatine monohydrate. I get bulk nutrition, like 5-pound bag off Amazon. I'll put a link in it. But if you ever have a night where you don't get enough sleep, instead of taking like 5 to 10 grams, take 20 to 30 and test this out. Cause for like some people, it like makes them have to use the restroom, like number 2. It doesn't do that to me. But I've been taking it for 20 years. So that's like another kind of like tip. about supplements before we move on to the next section, and then probably start to wrap this up because we've been talking forever.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I've got to go on my supplement journey, and I used to take creatine a lot when I played football and trained for that. So, and I do remember it being a very effective supplement. So, yeah, I've got a lot I got a journey ahead of me as well.
Yeah. Cool. So if I get this right, just to circle back, the season you're in is really on like impact, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the way I'll describe it a couple ways. Like I feel like I'm Gandalf, and all the people I'm helping are Frodo, or so I'm trying to be the best Gandalf. Like Gandalf's a pretty cool dude. Like I think it's
He's
pretty cool to
awesome.
aspire to be Gandalf, but I'm not the hero. Like I try to be Obi-Wan, and Luke Skywalker is the hero. You know, like so that's I'm totally leaning into that. I'm digging it. I'm loving it, and it's sort of rekindled my ambition, which I had in my 20s and 30s. I'm like, yeah, I'm after it. Like I'm an athlete. I like to push it. But I was really ambivalent about ambition for many years
Mm,
because I'm like, what, I don't need to make more money or whatever. Um, this idea of being the guide for other people and to be the hero to get them out of the matrix, like let's get them out of
yeah.
there. Let's be Morpheus. Like let's get Neo out of the matrix. That's exciting to me. I love it. And I feel like that's kind of my calling, if you want to call it like something like that. It's like being a coach, being a teacher is really, I'm a real estate investor too. I'm an entrepreneur. Like I identify
Yeah.
with those things, but I totally identify with being a teacher and a coach more than anything. And
Yeah.
I resonate with that as a parent. My kids are in the stage where they still want to have conversations with me, and I get to help when I have little opportunities to help guide them. That's amazing to me. It's my favorite thing. Being a good friend, being a good family member, but being a coach to people professionally is like it's a dream. I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I think the stage I'm at kind of in the season is it's really like showing myself and others like once you've achieved financial independence, this is what a fit rich life could look like,
Yeah.
right? And I still give back through my coaching and my podcasting and my content creation. But I'm really like, you know, you probably heard me talk about pickleball like a dozen times at freaking FinCon. And this is one thing I meant to say earlier, but this, but I think a lot of men forgot this. And I think it's important for women as well. But um, the thing I noticed about playing pickleball that I want to share on this episode is playing a competitive sport taps into the masculine energy, which in the Greek language, to compete meant to rise together. And I literally haven't competed. I used to play soccer growing up, but then I graduated in 2001 and I really haven't played a competitive sport for like 20 years. And I forgot how much I love to compete and how
Yeah.
much energy it gives me,
Yeah.
not just to like win pickleball games, but then to have energy to channel into my business, into my podcast, into my coaching clients, into my relationship with my wife. And I'm like, wow, like now one of my new like core principles in my coaching, especially for men, but for women too, is like if you're not playing a competitive sport, and you're not feeling alive in life, like you need to start playing some sort of competitive sport because it will animate that masculine energy. And every man has masculine and feminine energy, and every woman has masculine and feminine energy. But like physical competition is a masculine energy. And that masculine energy is the same energy you can channel into a business, into a career, into being a great steward in your community. And I know you know this because when I was working with you as a coach, you're like, oh, yeah, I play basketball, X number of times a week. And I was always like, oh, that's awesome. He plays basketball. And, you were a college football player. But I just curious, like, now that I've framed it as this way to like tap
Yeah.
into this energy source, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think I identified it as such, but now that I look at it, is a big part of my my basketball playing, which I've missed for the last couple of weeks because I've had some nagging injuries, by the way. So that's part of my life
Pickleball.
at the moment. I need to look at pickleball a little bit more, but I love the competition. But the cool thing I have, like the basketball group I play with, is not like we're trying to like win the NBA championship kind of competition, but it's like we all want to be better, and we all are doing it together. Like that Greek word of
Yep.
like rising together. It's like
Yep.
it's your community. Like that's what I hear from you and your pickleball is like you're using your physical body, you're competing with other people. And
Yep.
that's so primal. Like we're tribal people, man. We
A
we
hundred
come from
percent.
the plains of Africa where we survived by being in little groups of people who did hard things together. And I
Yep.
think that's cool. Like I think it's it really does feel like I'm going back to my source and going back to the roots of what things are all about. And so yeah, for me, I dig your advice. I take it. I like it. And there's so many different ways to compete. You don't have to be basketball or pickleball. Like there's other things. I have a good friend of ours who's like kind of parenting friends, and they do rock climbing, and they
Yeah.
do little rock climbing competitions, and they love it. It's their community. So there's just
Yep.
so many ways to use if you can use your body, be with people in a community, and have fun and push yourself. Like that
Yep.
combination is just magic to me.
100%. And like, I don't care if I lose a game of pickleball. I want to win every game, but I'm more like there to play the infinite game of just play as many pickleball games as I can and
Yeah,
get better every single day. Like, it's more the journey of getting better
yeah,
than it is to like winning. And I worked with my first pickleball coach who's a pro a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, cool, I think I want to start working with a coach and really like see where I can take this and like play in some tournaments and like, hey, how good could I get? I don't know, let's go find out. Like, I'm financially independent, so I can go on this like adventure and just see where it takes me.
yeah,
And I make money from my coaching business and everything, but like, I think I'm on this season where I'm like really exploring, like I said, like, okay, what does a fit rich life really look like for Justin David Carl? And I think everyone has their own version of a uniquely amazing and magical fit rich life. And I just want to really explore, like, okay, if I'm not obsessing over making more money, like, what is an incredible life to me?
yeah,
And that
100%.
doesn't mean
I
I
like
can't make a ton of money all at the same time, but I
yeah.
think right now I want to go a little bit less focused on money making, more on like, what are these areas that I have not invested much time and energy into? And playing sports is one of them. I like, I've always worked out, but I haven't played a sport like seriously for like 20 years. So,
And that's the cool thing about financial independence. It's like a blank canvas, and you get to go on this personal exploration journey of figuring out what do I need to work on right now, whether that's making more money, making more meaning, doing sports. I think you're epitomizing really and demonstrating what the best of all this is about. So I think that's really cool.
yeah. Awesome. So, I'm always curious like what podcast people listen to. So
Mm,
like, give me your like top, like, I don't know, two to four podcasts that you listen to. They could be ones that you always listen to. I have one new podcast that I just started listening to that I absolutely love. And as a podcaster, I want to support other podcasters. So I'm just curious, like, what are some of Coach Carson's favorite podcasts?
yeah, like I listen to a variety. I have a lot of business podcasts. I actually don't listen to any real estate podcasts because I get enough of that in my life. But
Yeah.
you can't listen to the thing you make stuff about. But I do. I think my favorite, the what I see as the best podcasters, period, in terms of craft, are these two guys that make the podcast called Acquired.
Mm,
Acquired. It's a business podcast, but they tell stories about business, and these are like little mini books, mini audiobooks. Like the latest one they did was on Google or Alphabet, the parent company of Google, and then they've done one on like Amazon, they've done one on Costco, they've done one on all the tech companies, Nvidia, and so it's not necessarily an analysis like to buy the invest as an investment, but they go into like the story, the fundamentals, and one of them is an angel investor, or they're both angel investors actually. So they kind of get that scene, and they use a framework, which actually is a book I read this year called The Seven Powers.
uh,
This
I
this is a
haven't read
business
it,
professor.
but
Yeah,
I've had multiple friends recommend that book to me, so maybe it's finally time I read it.
It's pretty academic. Like reading the books a little. I would actually listen to the podcast if you really want to get the 7 powers, and then maybe
Mm,
read the book later. But the podcast is so well done because I'm interested in storytelling. I'm interested in business, and I think it today like the big companies in business and tech tell you a story about the society as well. And for example, if I really wanted to understand Taiwan and what's going on, I've never been to Taiwan. I'd like to know more about it. But the company TSMC, whatever, the one that makes all the chips that fabricates all the chips, there was like a 3 hour episode about that and the founder and why this uniquely worked in Taiwan and what the history of it was and how they did that. I mean, like that stuff's fascinating to me. And
yeah.
so I'm kind of a history buff plus business plus storytelling. And that one, and I'm also a podcaster, so I appreciate their craft and their research, and they're also a duo, so they go back, they kind of feed off each other, and I find that to be one of the best podcasts out there.
You're going to love my podcast recommendation.
All right, I'm ready.
So, um, it's the David Senra podcast. It's brand new. There's literally only 2 episodes out. And he has been running the podcast Founders.
I listen to that one too. I love it. Yeah, I love David Senra.
Yeah, so he just started this new podcast, and the first interview is with a Spotify CEO and founder. And the
Great
second,
episode. I listened to the
yeah,
whole thing. It was amazing.
yeah, and the second one was with Michael Dell, and I'm like, God, this is so good. And like, I
Yeah,
have no desire to like start a Spotify or a Dell computer, but I just like I love listening to like these people who have built these like incredible businesses that are like, there are like huge companies in our world, and I don't know, I just feel like when you build something like that, you like your rate of learning and your experience is
yeah,
so huge that like if I could just take a few pieces of their mindset or their habits or their tools, like it's just
yeah.
going to make my life better. So that was my recommendation. So it sounds like Acquired, Founders, and the new David Senra podcast are all great podcasts for people. If you like this podcast, you should like those podcasts.
You're on that level, Justin. You're in the for the fit rich life intersection. You got a similar vibe, so I like it.
Awesome. Cool. So let's start to wind this down. Any apps, tools, or tech that have been like really helpful for you lately?
Mm. Yeah, good question. I've been using some of the old standbys for me, like just my Fitbit, my tracking my nutrition.
Yeah.
I mean, which ones do I use the most often? I mean, AI has been, I know that's kind of
Oh,
cliche to say that these days, but like I have my kids think I have a new best friend because I'm always like, when I'm walking down the street, I'm like talking on the phone and I'm like brainstorming ideas
yeah.
with chat GTP. They're like, is that your new best friend, Dad? Like, why are you
Yeah.
talking to him so much? I'm like, well, it's my little alter ego sitting on my shoulder who's helping me think
Yeah.
better, girls. That's what this, so I find it to be, as a creative person, I find AI to be an incredibly helpful tool. I know there's all sorts of other kind of uses and use cases, but I use it all the time, and I feel like I'm much more productive. I feel like I understand my own thoughts better in many cases because I love these kind of conversations, but it's my private deep conversation buddy who I can really go into things with, who has a breadth of knowledge that no human being could have and a depth of
Yeah.
knowledge that no human being. So it's really interesting to use it as a thinking partner, and that's been very helpful for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so passionate about AI. Like, I think it's an incredible tool, and I really think everyone should be learning how to utilize it to improve your business, improve your life, improve your thinking, improve your writing, improve your content creation. Like, I literally use it every single day, you
Yeah,
know, if, at least 5 times a day, if not like 25 plus,
right.
for all aspects of my business. Like even for our conversation today, I just like threw my notes into it and I was like, help me make an outline. And it's like done. Cool. I'm like, sweet. And like we're way off our outline, but it's like just to have that outline to fall back on. Like normally, like if I was to build that outline like pre AI, it probably would have taken me like 30 minutes to like get it as clean and well thought out as ChatGPT did it in 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah,
So
100%.
it's an amplifier.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
it's it's got a lot of potential. I think what you said, you need to learn how to use the vocabulary and the skill set of working with AI because it's only
yep.
going to get more integrated into everything we're doing. So I think as a parent who's trying to teach, like, what do I teach my kids in a age of AI? I think you need to teach your kids how to ask good questions and how to be
Mm,
curious and how to use tools. Like that's what I'm playing around with. It's just I find the less curious you are and the habit you are of asking questions, the less competent you're going to be with AI.
yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Awesome. Cool. The gadget that I'm most obsessed with right now is my Whoop, which is a health tracker. It's on my wrist here. And they just released this new feature in the last few months called Whoop Age. And basically, it gives you an age score. So I'm 43, but according to my Whoop age, according to my health metrics, I'm 32.6. So I'm 10.8
Woohoo!
years younger than my biological age.
There you
And
go.
what's been so fun about this is it shows you the different things that contribute to your Whoop age. So things like resting heart rate, things like your VO2 max, things like your sleep consistency, things like the hours of sleep you get, the amount of time per week you spend in zones 1 through 3, heart rate zones, the amount of times like you do strength training. And it has these bars like where it's like on one end you're like getting older if you have a bad score for that particular metric. And then on the other end, like the farther you get on the other end, the more it reduces your age. So over the last 2 months, like one of the big contributors is your VO2 max. And so when I started with this whole journey of like, because now sorry, before I tell you about that part, it also tells you your pace of aging. So the pace of aging goes from 3x, meaning you're aging 3 times faster per year, to -1, meaning you're
Mm.
actually getting younger. And so as soon as this feature came out, I started paying attention to it. I was like, I want to get to a negative pace of aging, meaning I want to start reversing my aging even more. And just this last week, I finally got to a -0.2 pace of aging. And for me, it's just like, it's the whole thing we were talking about, like what gets measured gets managed, empowered, and manifested. And I'm like, dude, I want to like slow my aging even more. Let's see if I can reverse it. Um, and it's just been so fun for me. So like one of the big contributors is VO2 max. And when I started, my VO2 max was 48. And now my VO2 max 2 months later is 56, which puts me in the elite athlete level for my age group 40 to 49. And I also know through my own research, VO2 max is one of the like biggest predictors of like health span and longevity. So like, why not like work on this? So I've really been working hard on it. And there's two big things I'll share with the audience to improve your VO2 max. Number one is getting a lot of zone 2 training. So zone 2 training is essentially like if you're running or biking, you can still talk, but you're moving, right? And if you have a heart rate monitor, like you can like actually figure out what your real like what zone you're really in. So getting a fair amount of zone 2 training, I get a ton. I'm scared to even say how much I get because I play a lot of pickleball, so I'm in zone 2 training a lot playing pickleball. So
Yep.
right now I get 13 hours a week, which is an insane amount. But the other thing to improve your VO2 max is to do high intensity interval training, HIIT training. And it doesn't have to be a lot. So 2 to 3 times a week, I will either do running HIIT training or cycling on my Peloton. And all I do is I will like run fast or run up a hill for like 1 minute and get into zone 4 or 5. So for me to get into zone 4, and everyone's zones are different, like I have to get to a heart rate of 148 BPM. So I will like run for hard for a minute, get into that zone 4, and then I'll jog easy for like 1 to 3 minutes, and then I'll do 3 to 6 of those hard intervals. And I just do that, and like you can do like 4 intervals in like 12 minutes. Like if you like run hard for a minute, jog easily for a minute or two, do it again, and you can finish the whole thing in like 12 minutes or less. Like, it depends on how many intervals you do. And I'll do the same thing on my Peloton. So I'll like, basically make it the resistance as hard as I can go and like pretend like I'm climbing a hill on my Peloton bike. And I'll just get in like 3 to 6 hard, like 1 minute intervals, like interspersed by like 1 to 3 minute, like easy intervals. And like between those two, literally like radically increased my VO2 max in the last 2 months. So just wanted to share that.
Taking note of go measure my VO2 max. Here we go.
Yeah. So you can get an official VO2 max like test where they put like this oxygen mask on you and make you run on a treadmill. But Garmin will estimate your VO2 max. Whoop will estimate your VO2 max. And I don't know, you'll have to check that your Fitbit might also estimate it. But there's like, you don't have to go do a $200 like lab test. You can like literally just get it from a health tracker. So yeah.
Cool. I'll give you some feedback. I'll let you know.
Yeah. I can see that you're like, oh, I'm going to,
Here we
because
go.
you're an
Let's
athlete.
let's test this out. What is my VO2 max? Do I need to improve this? Let's go.
Yeah. And I think really, especially, I know you're in your 40s, I'm in my 40s. Like these are the things that you want to start to think about, like, because you want to get these good now so that, and keep them good so that like when you're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, like you're in incredible health and shape and you can do all the things you love to do. So yes, let's start to close this down because we've been talking for a long time. What are you excited to experiment with based on our conversation today?
The VO2 max, that's pretty recent in my mind. I think that's going to be one. Some of the hop water, I think I'm going to check some of that out. Some of the interesting drinks that my wife and I are going to experiment probably with some of those. And the card deck, the conversation deck, I'm all about that is definitely in my wheelhouse. And I'm trying to think if we have any road trips coming up. Maybe not. I'm working on some in the future, but that's I love that. I took notes on all those things that you're talking about. Maybe even some supplementation. I haven't got back into creatine or any of that in a while, but that's something I might dig it. So pretty much everything on your list, Justin. Let's just I'm excited.
Yeah. What is one upgrade? It could be fitness, it could be money, it could be life that you would recommend to the listeners. It could be something we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned sleep. I mean, sleep is my big one too. As we went through coaching, kind of what some of my fundamentals that I'm trying to work on. But it took me years, and I'm still like always trying to improve on this. But it took me years to get a good baseline of sleep again. And a lot of it was me being an entrepreneur. Like I'm just not even when I used to play football in college, I used to have bad sleep the night before. I graduated from college exhausted because I had like 4 years of just bad sleep, and a lot of it was just like I get stressed and I don't sleep well, and so I don't feel like even since I was a teenager, I don't feel like I'm ever a good sleeper. Some people just can go get knocked out and they're gone. Like my wife is pretty good at sleeping. I'm just not a good sleeper, or at least I identify myself as that. And so it's been like 5-6 years of really working hard on just little bitty habits of like one the top of my list on the little list I showed earlier is a 10 p.m. digital sunset. And I've gotten good at that. Like in fact, 9:30 is usually my digital sunset. My kids are going to bed. I just go ahead and like used to be I would go do more like bookkeeping or more like thinking time. Like I think really well at night. So it's kind of hard for me to do that. But I stay off the computer, have a digital sunset. So all these things you do like the night before to help you get a good night of sleep. I think that's my recommended upgrade is because if you got a bad night of sleep, I don't care what you're trying to do, sleep, work, exercise, be a good family member, be a good person. It all is like it's either gonna help you or hurt you depending on how well you sleep. But it's also not, for me at least, it was not easy to do. So I think you got to deliberately focus on it and work at it just like you would work on your muscles, just like you would work on your business. Like, and so that's been one of the best upgrades I've worked on in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah. And again, it's the same thing. Like if you track your sleep, then you can actually improve it. But if you don't track your sleep, it's hard to improve it. And one thing, this is just me, I know you're a coach, I'm a coach, is mindset really is everything. So like you kind of caught yourself, but you're like, I'm a bad sleeper.
Yeah.
Like you have to adopt a new belief, even if that new belief is like, I'm getting better and better at sleeping
Yep.
until I'm actually really good at sleeping. Right.
Hmm.
And one of my fitness coaches did this with me. Cause I used to say, oh, I tend to overeat. And he'd be like, no, like stop. Like that is a terrible belief. That is a limiting belief. And so now like my new belief is like, I always eat in accordance with my optimum health and physique fitness. Right. And now I believe that. And now I can intuitively eat. But I had to change that belief that I tend to overeat. Right. And we all have these like things that we say. And a good coach will catch you and say, hey, you're limiting yourself. You need to uninstall that belief and install
Yep.
a healthier one. And so I'm really saying this for the listener, but like if you catch yourself saying like, oh, I'm a bad sleeper, or I'm bad with money, or I'm like I suck at like staying fit, like, or being fit, like you have
Yeah.
to adopt an empowering belief about yourself, even if you're not there yet. Like I'm getting better and better at managing my money. I'm getting better and better at sleeping. I'm getting better and better about exercising. And then one day you're like, holy shit, I'm really good at fitness and exercise. I'm really good at managing and growing my wealth. I'm really good at
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yep. Yeah, that's where mantras. I mean, I don't do them all the time, but I have a couple of little mantras. You'll say that to change a belief, you got to repeatedly say that thing over and over to
100%.
rewire your brain. So I think there's really something to that.
Yeah. Awesome. Any last thoughts or words before we completely shut this long, awesome podcast down?
This has officially been the longest podcast I've been on, and you're a fun person to talk to, Justin. I respect you and appreciate you, and you're doing really good work. And I just want to say thank you. You're doing awesome work, and getting to hang out with you in person at FinCon was a highlight for me. You asked like what was the best thing about that, like the friendships, the relationships, like that's to me is what it's all about, and that's what I try to do as a coach. The relationships are the big deal, and so having colleagues, having a coach, having somebody who pushes me is really is an awesome thing in life, and I don't take it for granted. So thank you.
Yeah. My pleasure. Same for me. I came home, told my wife, I was like, I got to spend so much time with Chad Carson. Like, I fucking love that guy. I feel like he's like one of my really good friends now. And I was just like, it really was amazing. So right back at you, I have so much admiration and respect for you, like the way you run your business. And you've been such a awesome, coach to me and mentor, like showing me how you're running your business, the metrics you track, how you track it. And I feel really lucky to have you in my life. So thank you for having your longest conversation podcast ever with me. I feel honored, and
Yes.
so good to have you on the show, brother.
Thank you, Justin. My pleasure.